Minasan domo. Antakira 1440 desu. Power Ranger Samurai no Shuri Hoho e Yokozo. Just kidding. Nihon wa wakarinai. Alright, welcome back Rangers. I've watched both Samurai Sentai Shinkenger and Power Ranger Samurai. Trying to go through Power Ranger Samurai now I need whatever Master Xandred has been drinking. A lot of people say both shows are practically identical, then why is Shinkenger regarded as so much better than the American version? Well, the answer is quite simple: details. Just like when you watch Nailed It, the amateur bakers will try their best to recreate a recipe created by top chefs. Sure, the final product shares elements of what they are trying to reproduce, but are not quite on par to the level. So the problem with Power Ranger Samurai would be attention to the details were lost. This could range from the acting, editing, camera angle, how the scene played out, all the way down to the music. I'm not sure if it's the director's problem or their fault, but there are so many things that are lost in translation. There are some emotional moments stunted by poorly timed music. That's just one of the biggest bummers I've noticed in Power Ranger Samurai. This would be the reason why things that happened in Power Ranger Samurai felt so random. And before you ask, yes, I've read Amit Bomik's Power Ranger Samurai pitch. I like his approach. It is very Jungle Fury-like, one of the most underrated series ever. But since it is my version of Power Ranger Samurai, I think I would not just expand upon Amit Bomik's idea or blatantly tell people to go watch Shinkenger. What I'll be doing is to see what I can do with Shinkengers in America. Grab your morphers, it's time. Ready? Kilographone! Samurai Fortify! For this exercise, the story has been split into 5 arcs. The first arc will be Seeking the Rangers. In the first episode of Power Ranger Samurai, it's called Beneath Within the Crevice. This season of Power Rangers is set on Aroma Port City. Just imagine it's an island city-state, similar to the one in Big Hero 6. It's like little Tokyo on a Hawaiian island. In modern day, the Nighthawks are revived and begin to attack the mortal realm. Lauren Shiba of the Shiba House takes arms to fight them as this generation's Samurai Red. Wait, a female Red Ranger? She's not Japanese. She's blonde, posing as a samurai. This ain't anime. What is going on? What is this woke culture? After defeating a company of Azazoth, the foot soldiers of the season, Lauren becomes annoyed when her retainer, G, implores her to find her 4 vassals to fight alongside her, instead of fighting on her own all this time. Meanwhile, in the Sanju River, a parallel dimension realm, Master Xandred finally awakens, and upon learning that Samurai Rangers still exist, becomes enraged as he thought he has disabled every one of them in killing off the previous Shiba clan Samurai Red. He decides to cross into the barrier and destroy the current head of the Shiba clan himself. Cthulhu, his squid-looking chief advisor, warns Xandred being a powerful Nighthawk would require to absorb more Sanju river waters, or he will dry up faster than any lesser Nighthawk. Crossing into the human realm will take a much longer recovery period if he does so now. He has barely recovered from the previous battle, albeit over a decade ago. Another Nighthawk lieutenant on board is Daiyu, playing her harmonium. Xandred seems to be calmed after he hears the harmonium tunes. Returning back to Leo Rock Mountain, G continues to persuade Lauren to summon the other Samurai Rangers who has been trained all their lives for this moment. It is better to prepare now before a Nighthawk actually returns. G says she needs teamwork, but Lauren doesn't want to endanger anyone else. She prefers to delay this action as much as possible and wait when the time comes, then she will summon them. G says it might be too late by then. With the increased number of Azazoths, any Nighthawks could enter into our realm. 5 years ago, it was just usually 1 or 2. Half a year ago, it was 5. And now it's up to 50. The crevices has been very active. Xandred's return is inevitable, and it's closing in. As Lauren is training, G receives a warning from the gap sensors. This time, it is not just the Azazoths, but something much more. Lauren took up to arms and arrived to battle. She easily destroys the Azazoths who were harassing civilians, but the one leading them is Xandred, leader of the Nighthawks. So just imagine you're playing an RPG game, you're just at a beginner level of let's say 5, and suddenly the final boss appeared with the health bar longer than the screen and level 99. That would be horrifying. When she was facing off against the masters of the Nighthawk, Xandred, she was no match and was rescued by G just in time. We see that G is strong, but he is not strong enough against the foot soldiers in hand-to-hand combat. Only good at evading attacks. Lauren forcefully retreated and G treated her wounds. Xandred laughs at how there is only one Samurai Ranger. However, his victory was shortened. He screams in pain as he immediately dries up and retreats to the Sanji River. Daiyu reminds him the more powerful the Nylok is, the easier they will dehydrate, unless he is a half Nylok like her, or any one of the lesser Nyloks, like the Azazoths. Tending to Xandred's dehydration, Cthulhu states that Xandred's impatience delayed his return to fight. Now Xandred isn't even strong enough to cross the barrier anymore. Cthulhu also said, if Xandred's weakened strength is revealed, there may be a Nylok uprising when more Nyloks wake up. The Nyloks might destroy each other before they take over the human realm. Nyloks are powered up by Xandred's anger and activity. Some might start waking up. Back in the Leo Rock Mountain, Lauren begrudgingly accepts G's request after we see a flashback of how horrifically Lauren's dad was injured as he passes the Lion Folding Zord to her and tells her not to run away from her destiny, stating she is the head of the Shiba clan. It is not pride that she does not want help, but it is because she knows the tradition of samurai lords and retainers. It's just that she does not want to use her retainers as living shields. She does not feel worthy of having retainers to look up to her, but since she is not strong enough, she will need help from others. Meanwhile, in Sanji River, Xandred is still recovering. He is drinking concentrated fear brew provided by Cthulhu. Xandred is still angry at how close he was at destroying the current Red Samurai Ranger before he started drying up. Xandred believes there should be an easy way if they could just flood the human realm with Sanji River waters, so he could be hydrated while he's already in the human realm, without crossing barriers. Cthulhu states that is an excellent idea. Xandred orders him to find a Nylok. But since most Nyloks are still in slumber, there isn't any better candidates to delegate to. As Lauren prepares to leave, G gives Lauren the locations of her fellow Samurai Rangers to seek out independently. G says it is a tradition of the Lord to seek out his generation of retainers to show them the Lordship's gratitude. Lauren apologizes to G for not listening to him. G smiles and tells her he has never been more proud to raise her to who she is now, a powerful samurai warrior in her prime. Now it is her turn to pass on the knowledge he has instilled into her to the other Rangers. Note, Lauren and G both plays a role in being the mentor in this season. G acts more like the emotional side of Lauren to the other Rangers. In the next episode called Wherever the Dust Wind Blows, Lauren arrives at Staunton Creek Farm. It is where one of her Rangers are currently residing in. The farm is mostly empty, and Lauren knocks on the farmhouse door. A middle-aged woman called Miss Anaori invites Lauren in for tea. Apparently she was the previous Samurai Yellow. We see how damaged the previous Yellow Ranger was in that last battle. She stated she has taken a terrible blow to the head. She can't remember much and mixes things up as if she has dementia. Lauren says she is here to recruit the Yellow Samurai Ranger. Miss Hanaori said that it's her daughter, and she points Lauren to her room. In that room, there was a bed-bound person next to the medical monitor in one of the bedrooms, probably a mistake due to, well, dementia. Then Lauren hears a girl playing a flute in the backyard. Lauren goes out and met the girl. The good-natured girl asks who she is, and Lauren holds out her folding sword. The girl immediately stands up and greets her. Lauren says she is there to recruit her in her fight against the Nylok, and the girl introduced herself as Emily. She stated she is the heir to the Yellow Ranger. She seemed positive, but you can tell there's an unease. Clearly, she is very insecure about her position, and she's quite young. When she joins Lauren, Emily leaves without saying goodbye to her family, but left a note behind instead. Meanwhile, in the Sanji River, Daiyu volunteers to cross dimension, but Xandred says the Shiba Samurai attacks are still fresh. She needs her melody to calm him down, which aids in his recovery. Thus, Cthulhu decides he should head out into the human realm. Even though as a Nylok, he is quite powerless. Thus, he doesn't need much hydration yet, but he uses brain over brawn at the same time. Xandred starts powering Cthulhu with his hatred, so that Cthulhu would be strong enough when he enters the crevice. The two girls head to Veil Mist Hills. Lauren sees a kindergarten teacher playing with children. Lauren approaches the front desk and asks for Miss Mia Shirashi. The receptionist tells Lauren Miss Mia is still on duty, and Lauren will have to wait. While Lauren is waiting, she sees Mia is very liked by these toddlers, and other teachers are impressed with how she's able to handle children with her kind and caring attitude. However, when she hands a weird-looking cupcake she baked, the children ran away from her. During Mia's break, she is finally summoned. Lauren holds out her fire origami. Mia recognizes it and immediately kneels before her lord. Lauren quickly tells her to stop kneeling as it's not her style. Lauren tells Mia up to speed about the increased Azazoth attacks, and she personally came to recruit her. Mia tells her that she is ready and it has been her childhood dream to become a samurai. After Cthulhu has been fully charged, he heads out to the human realm. His first act is to terrorize children. It's the best way to increase the Xandred River waters. As the three girls start to bond, we can see Lauren really enjoying Mia's company, but is constantly keeping a stoic face. Mia and Emily are starting to act like sisters, but their conversation was cut short. G calls her and tells her gap sensor has been activated. Fortunately, it is close by the girls. Suddenly, the school staff started ushering the children to return back into the school. To describe the situation, it looked as if there was a school shooter on the loose or a tornado. Children were gathered, protected by the school staff. Children were crying in fear. School staff were terrified. Turns out, there was an Azazoth attack, led by Cthulhu this time. Lauren quickly passes Mia and Emily their calligraphone. The three girls transform into the Samurai Rangers. Lauren tells Mia and Emily to defend the children as she fends off the Azazoth army. The three work together very well as a team. However, they were tied against Cthulhu, who uses his wits and easily outthinks the girls, but he is starting to dry up as he is exerting a lot of energy. While fighting Cthulhu, Lauren accidentally dropped a map and a calligraphone. The squid monster quickly steals those items and disappears into the crevice. At the same time, Mega Azazoths were summoned. Lauren used her line folding Zord to defeat these Mega Azazoths, as Mia and Emily fends the rest of the Azazoths from the school. After the three defeated the army of Azazoth, Mia heads to the principal's office. She has sent in her letter of suspending her duties as a teacher to become a Samurai Power Ranger. The three heads on the journey to find the missing calligraphone and the Nyx Ranger. Strange enough, Cthulhu has appeared close by the Repulse Bay Performance Arts Theater. This is where the Nyx Ranger is located. Lauren and Mia heads out to seek out the Nyx Ranger before the Nylok attacks this Ranger. Meanwhile, a mysterious figure emerges and states that his marked opponent has been ripened. He has sensed it. It is time for him to satisfy his ultimate duel. In the Xandred River, Cthulhu is measuring the Xandred River and gleefully states it has risen a few inches. Xandred demands why is he holding this despicable samurai device and commands him to destroy it immediately. Cthulhu tells his plan to Xandred that his next target is a ranger whose parent has broken the Shiba samurai rule. It is a rule that the fellow rangers have their samurai heritage left to be vague and rarely spoken. They are well trained, but they are not allowed to know about the lore of the Shiba samurai heritage. Otherwise, they'll be susceptible to Nylok influence, such as mind control, unless they live by their lords who will remove this curse, and it takes time for it to. However, the Ikanami family has broken that rule, and that ranger is his new target. Xandred tells Cthulhu to get on with his plans, but seeing Xandred being calmed from her tunes, Dayu volunteers instead. Since Cthulhu still needs to be fully moisturized, Dayu can show off her talents this time. Cthulhu gave Dayu a whip and tells her it is finally time to use something truly special that he has saved. The Tigress Folding Zord appears in the Xandred River waters. Following the events of finding the missing calligraphone and the escaped Cthulhu, we're in the next episode called Downriver. The girls arrived at the Repulse Bay Performance Arts Center and asked for a Kevin Academy. The staff there chuckled and said he has been always a popular actor with many fangirls. But unfortunately, he's out for a jog and can't greet any visitors. As Lauren was asking for Kevin, Mia and Emily notices Kevin in many notice boards, and he is a very big figure in Shakespearean performance arts in this community district. As the girls are heading to Kevin's usual jogging trail, they encounter Dayu. She reveals there are many folding Zords lost in previous battles, and one was recovered by the Nyloks. She reveals the Tigress Folding Zord is under her control. Lauren demands her to hand it over, and Dayu states they will have to go through her newest ally before getting it. And who is this newest ally? Kevin. The mind-controlled Kevin uses the calligraphone and morphs into Samurai Blue. Mia and Emily goes after Kevin while Lauren fights against Dayu. Kevin badly hurts Mia and Emily, knocking both out of morph just as Lauren ties with Dayu, which led to a retreat. Lauren calls for G to bring some of her servants to bring both girls home. As the two girls are recovering in the Shiba house, G suggests Kevin will return to attack them, and Lauren assures that the others she will defeat Kevin with full-on determination. Emily hopes Lauren would be more merciful for Kevin's sake. Even though badly defeated by Kevin, they are impressed by Kevin's fighting style. Emily is impressed by Kevin's swordsmanship, saying it's like a beautiful sword dance. Mia comments Kevin probably practiced very hard through studies of traditional stances, implying Kevin is a better fighter than Lauren. She responds that is all true, but even with proper training, actual fight's outcome could be very different. G says Lauren is the type to show her strength in battle. Mia is worried since Lauren seems to be a very serious fighter. The three confronts Dai after she resumes her attack, claiming Lauren should fight a good fight or she will order Kevin to get up himself. Lauren accepts the challenge of Kevin to duel, which makes Mia worry for Kevin. Especially Mia notices her samurai lord-like expression is what makes her fear for Kevin's safety. Though the two worse for Lauren and Kevin, a mysterious figure arrives to reveal that Lauren is the winner in the fight. He notices that Kevin is relying on techniques, which is basically what helps him to score points in a sports tournament rather than actually attacking. He comments Lauren's unconventional stances and movements would be disqualified by judges during professional tournaments, but would be highly useful in a real fight. What Lauren was trying to do is to tire Kevin out. As Lauren defeats Kevin and breaks the Nylock spell through using a disc that cancels out the mind control, that angered Dayu summons the Tigress Folding Zord to take out the Samurai Rangers as she escapes. While Samurai Red uses their Lion Folding Zord to fight the Tigress Folding Zord, the other Rangers tend to Kevin. After a spectacular fight, Cthulhu arrives and retrieves the Tigress Folding Zord. As the others help Kevin, who's distraught about nearly destroying Lauren, he proclaims he should be discarded for his actions despite being manipulated. Surprisingly, they're shocked when Lauren apologizes to him, explaining that technique she used to break Cthulhu's spell could have killed Kevin. Lauren tells his vassal to never mention it again as the mysterious man, Deker in human form, watches them as they leave. Kevin formally joins the samurai team and stated he has been brought up by nightly stories about the samurai tales and knows everything about his heritage, like the back of his hand. As the four returns back to the theater, Kevin says goodbyes to his father, who is the stage manager. His father has been blinded by the previous fight against Master Xandred. His father is solemn and sad in how his son needs to carry his burden, but he knows it is his son's duty. The Rangers bid the father goodbye and continue to seek out the next Ranger. To the next episode called As Green as Grass, Awakening in the Shiba House, the four Rangers' personalities are very different. Kevin is overly subservient to Lauren, following the trope of defeat means friendship, acting like a battle butler. Overly enthusiastic to the point that he is annoying, while his fellow Rangers groan and roll their eyes at him. Lauren subtly points out Kevin's action is so over the top to the point it feels very ingenuine. Emily is quite shy and good-natured, viewing everything as positive. Mia is like the mother of the group, trying to take care of everyone. Lauren is quite quiet and emotionally aloof. When the Rangers are socializing, she is rarely seen together with them. So, whenever you see people hanging out, it's always Emily, G, Mia, and Kevin. While tracking down the next Samurai Ranger located in Cotton Tree Drive District, Kevin has done some research before heading out. There are blogs talking about a mysterious plant attacks in this district. Kevin stated there are news in that district where criminals are reported being attacked by plant vines and leaves. Kevin is overly protective of Lauren, stating he will use his body as a human shield to fend the plant's offer, which is responded by the group rolling their eyes, including G. Back on the ship of the Sanji River, the first Nylock awakened from Xandred's anger, Cthulhu tells his newcomer to go terrorize some humans to increase the Santa River waters. Xandred is annoyed at Dayu and Cthulhu's bickering and pointing fingers at each other's failure. As the Rangers are investigating, Emily suspects it to be a Nylock attack, but Mia points out that the gap sensors were not activated. Later, they track down the culprit vigilante for all these plant attacks, which was actually done by a university undergrad, Mike Tani. Kevin scolds Mike for using his powers not in the name of samurai, but for his own ego, calling him a wannabe superhero. Lauren tries to recruit Mike, but he ignores her, saying he is not interested in involving in a periodic drama piece. He is ignoring the Lord and Retainer relationship. He is not interested in following his father's footsteps. Later, there was a Nylock attack and the team headed to the area. They see Mike using a symbol power of plant to face off against the Azazos as well. However, he is no match against the Nylock. On the other hand, this action proves to the Samurai Rangers, especially to Lauren, that he is there to protect the innocents, and not for fame or ego. Lauren throws a calligraphone and Mike catches it. The five Rangers morph together at the same time, and they all defeated the Azazoth together, while the Nylock starts to dry up and retreat. Lauren asks Mike to join the Samurai Rangers again, and to embrace his heritage and become a samurai. It is his destiny. Mike ignores her and leaves, tossing his calligraphone over his shoulder. Kevin asks if Mike is acting the way he is because Lauren is the female leader. Mike says, respect is earned, not given. He wouldn't truly care if the leader is a guy. His reaction would have been the same. He said he doesn't believe in prophecies nor chosen ones. He's a realist. Kevin curses Mike out, but Mia tells Kevin to have patience. It is Mike's choice after all. Mike rides off into the sunset alone. As the Rangers are practicing in the mansion, she announces there is another Nylock attack in the next day. As the Rangers head out to fend off the Azazoth, they couldn't find any Nylock leading them. While being called back to the mansion, Mia notices a family restaurant with Mike inside having dessert. Mia decides to join him. The two hit it off quite well, as Mia is like treating him like a little brother and Mike is more open to Mia. Meanwhile, on the outside world, people are getting insanely violent. Back at the restaurant, Mike is actually feeling quite unfit to be a samurai as he is not as well equipped as the others. Mia asks if Mike is blaming his deficiencies on his parents. Mike says coyly, not really, maybe a bit. Then their party was crashed by Mike's father, Mr. Tiny. Mike was clearly embarrassed by his father's presence, but Mia warmly welcomes him to join their table. Mr. Tiny asks humiliating questions like, has Mike stopped being so stubborn? Did he finally join the samurai? Is Mike fighting properly despite being weak? Meanwhile, the Nylock has been secretly shooting aggressive darts at people using Azazoth attack as a diversion. When another patron of the restaurant takes a woman as his hostage, Mike manages to get everyone out with him, but parts of the escape was hindered by Mr. Tiny. Turns out, Mr. Tiny was trying to protect a mother with her baby. He feared the chaos would have hurt the mother and the child. If Mia had revealed her identity as a ranger, it would have endangered everyone in the crossfire. Finding other humans being influenced, Mike attempts to stop them as he realizes they all have red eggs on their heads. Mia and Mr. Tiny had a chat while they were held up as hostages with the rest of the people there. Turns out, Mike's mother died at a young age during a Nylock attack. So Mr. Tiny wanted Mike to live as a free and cheerful child. That's why he was not brought up in the samurai training as the fellow rangers. Mike's full name is actually Michelangelo Tani, named after the party-loving Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. That's why he's more of a free spirit than the other rangers who are all into being traditional samurai. Mr. Tani wants Mike to find the samurai way by himself rather than the conservative way. While the other rangers deal with the Nylock who is to blame, Mike and Mia manages to set up a plan to free everyone, while Mr. Tiny fights some Azazoths by himself. However, his fighting prowess has been limited. The previous battle against Xandred has badly damaged his nerve. Mr. Tiny cannot pick up something as heavy as a spin sword. As Mike heads out, Mr. Tiny tells him to finish his mission as a samurai. Once the Nylocks are all gone, Mr. Tiny will be waiting to eat pancakes with him again. By the time the Rangers arrive alongside Mike asks for his calligraphone from Lauren. The 5 Rangers morph together to take on the Nylocks and his numerous Azazoths. Samurai Red slays the Nylock, but in spite of that, Lauren tells her vassals to remain on their guard. Sure enough, the Nylock is reborn as a giant, to the surprise of Mike, Emily, and Mia. Kevin tells them they didn't study enough and explains to them about the folding Zords they have. Before he could say anything more about it, Lauren cuts him off by telling him not to be a chatterbox. So the Samurai Rangers enlarge their folding Zords to confront and defeat the Nylock. After the battle, G arrives to bring everyone to the Shiva house. As this arc ends, Mike finally follows along to join the group because he has always seen becoming a samurai like his father before him is a joke. But today the hero whom he strived towards has always been in front of him, his father. Mike just did not see it until now. Alright, thank you everyone for joining us in the first part of How to Fix Power Ranger Samurai. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Part 2 will be coming up next, and see you soon.
Look before you, Moogers. This is the 18th leader of the Samurai Power Rangers, descendant of the man who destroyed your masters years ago. You have 2 choices. Retreat now, or become rust on his blade.
It's time to get serious. I am the Red Ranger, and your downfall.
Hello Riders and Rangers, welcome back to How to Fix Samurai. Alright, so let's summarize what happened in the previous video essay. It's basically this. Lauren is the current head of the Shiba clan. She has been brought up by G in a one-person crusade against the Nilox. But due to the return of Xandred, Lauren has been forced to locate descendants of her father's vessel to fight alongside with her. Emily and Mia accepted to be her vessels immediately. Kevin was temporarily possessed before joining the team, but Lauren managed to get rid of the mind control. It took them a while to convince Mike because he saw himself as a solo hero with a hint of inferiority complex, seeing how he isn't brought up in the samurai way. Now with that being said, let's begin. After being summoned to serve Lauren as her vassals, Kevin, Mia, Mike, and Emily begin their transition into samurai. They are being served by many of the Shiba caretakers in black robes and hoods. They do many community services to help people around the neighborhood. However, Mike oversleeps and is often late for training. He only sees the need to be serious when there's a Nylok attack. Mike is the kind of guy who won't do his homework unless there is a test. Lauren chews him out and Mike ditches training to hang out with his friends. However, they were attacked by the Nylok and Mike charges at the monster. But because of his lack of training and preparation, Mike was easily crushed by the Nylok and his friends were injured. Lecturing Mike that he is to blame for his friends being hospitalized, Lauren tells Mike either he finds a way to defeat the Nylok or he'll pack his bags and return his calligraphone and go home. After giving it thought as he plays Pac-Man, Mike gets an idea and begins to train himself, as Lauren undergoes her own training throughout the night. Question is, why is Lauren training so much though? Isn't she supposed to be some sort of chosen one? An overpowered Mary Sue? We see Lauren training with a mysterious orange colored disc which singed her and burned her badly. The next day, the Nylok resumes his attack until the Samurai Rangers arrive with Mike, falling to take on the Nylok on his own while the others deal with the Azazoths. With his training, Samurai Green manages to disable the Nylok arms and execute the death blow. When the Nylok is revived in giant form, again in the Sanji River, we see Xandred meditating with Cthulhu and Dayu watching him intently. Cthulhu says he wishes his CGI powers could be of use. It's taking forever to recharge the Tigress Folding Zord. Despite Samurai Green's intent to defeat the giant monster alone with the Bear Zord, the Samurai Megazord is formed after Samurai Red's own training pulls off. She managed to form the Samurai Megazord. Together, they slay the Nylok together. After the fight, Mike finally accepts being Lauren's vassal and vows to surpass her in skill. When they got home, Lauren immediately passes out in her quarters while the other Samurai Rangers are still energetic in celebrating. Back in the Sanji River, Xandred passes out from exhaustion. Cthulhu says it's a pity. If it weren't for Xandred rushing himself back to the human realm, Xandred could have possessed the monster in giant form for a little longer and crushed those puny rangers. Dayu comments it's quite impressive that Xandred is the only one who is able to possess Nilox in giant form. This also explains why mega-sized Nilox are so much weaker. We learn more about the Samurai Rangers' heritage in the next episode. Mike is still skeptical about the samurai responsibility that has been thrusted upon him now. He even said he and his fellow rangers are not biologically Japanese, although they all have Japanese last names, which he has resented a lot since he was picked on for it. Emily is unfamiliar since she was not fully trained. Mia knows only a bit about her heritage. This shocked Kevin and he wants to explain each of their ancestors' heritage. The audiences were then given a history lesson to explain their samurai heritage from G. Centuries ago, the Shiba clan has migrated to Aroma Port City to avoid the persecution of the samurai during the Meiji Restoration, who forced the samurai to either retire or be destroyed. In Aroma City Port, there are many mysterious cases where victims fell into Nilox pouncing out of the crevices like trapdoor spiders. The Shiba samurai clan with symbol power waged a crusade to fight off these monsters. The symbol power is called Calligraphy Generated Innovation, CGI for short. The Shiba clan has been sealing cracks to prevent any more Nilox from entering into the human world back in Japan, which took centuries. However, the Nilox here has escalated their attacks. The invasion destroyed the warriors of the Shiba clan. The only survivor was a young samurai lord. During his desperation struggle against these ancient malevolent spirits as his new home is to be destroyed, he comes across 4 unlikely friends of different origins. They are a seller of precious stones and fans descended from Korean Chinese, adventurous sailor from Africa, trader of mulberry wood descended from Spanish colony, and a merchant of Dutch company that sells refined soil and farming equipment. The 4 also were affected by the Nylok attacks. Their journey, settlement, businesses, and homes in Aroma Port City was destroyed. Despite these circumstances, they still fought valiantly against the Nylok monsters, saving innocent bystanders, which struck a chord with this Shiba Lord. He sensed their aura and potential to wield the CGI symbol powers. The Lord Shiba recruited them to fight together. Over time, the Lord taught the four how to use CGI powers, and they each ended up with their different elements on their own: wind, water, wood, and earth. Their bonds have increased, and in time, they're able to successfully push the Nylok monsters back to the Sanju River. When the conflict was over, Aroma Port City was saved and peace was returned. Lord Shiba granted these foreigners the rank of Bushi, which is the title for warrior samurai retainers. They were rechristened with Japanese last names. From then on, they are the first generation of the Samurai Rangers. As time continues, their descendants are to be trained to fight. They keep their numbers small to prevent some sort of abuse of CGI powers, which actually occurred in the past when there were 6 Rangers. The home has been invaded time and time again by the Nyloks every generation, so the governor of Aroma Port City has appointed the Shiba clan to be the exterminators of the Nyloks. Descendants of the Lord and Retainers will fight these Nyloks again and again. Thus, each generation of the Samurai Power Rangers will be trained by their parents. Each of them will have to experience how to counter Nylok attacks. Currently, the 18th generation of the Shiba clan is led by the current Shiba Samurai Lord, Lord Shiba. After G finished explaining their heritage, Kevin says he cries every time he hears the backstory. He's so touched by it. Mia and Emily find it inspiring, while Mike realizes the burden of this familial role he has inherited. While practicing their kanji to perfect their CGI power abilities, they learned more about each other. Emily is bad at farming and studying. She feels like she is a burden to her family. She couldn't even take care of her sister, who is sick. Thus, she concentrates her will to become the perfect Samurai Ranger. Kevin is touched by her dedication, while Mike takes pity on his fellow Rangers' indoctrination. He says all this samurai thinking, belief, values from your parents are all brainwashing. Mia then quickly says she is not fully decided to work as Lauren's retainer yet though. She will fight the Nyloks, but Lauren still needs to gain her trust in Kevin's shock. Kevin boldly states he will blindly follow anyone with Shiba last name. When the Nyloks appears, the vassals deal with Azazoth, and Lauren joins them. Emily took the blow meant for Lauren. As the other samurai tries to step in to help Emily, Lauren seems cold to Emily being heavily wounded, saying if she is that weak, she wouldn't have been the Yellow Samurai Ranger, as she runs after the Nylok. This behavior shocked the retainers, but when they learned their lord was cold in order to save a little girl the monster was heading towards, the vessels fully realized their mission and should not hesitate. They joined their lord in executing the Nylok. After the Nylok revive into a giant, the Samurai Rangers combine their Folding Zord to form the Samurai Megazord after Vessel's own combination attempt under Kevin did not work and became a weird totem pole. Kevin needs more training and Lauren does the combination herself. After the battle, Emily apologized to Lauren for being weak, which surprised the other Rangers. Lauren says Emily did not disappoint and thinks Emily is much stronger than how she appears to be. Lauren has always seen her as the true Yellow Samurai Ranger. Cradling and babying Emily is just a mockery of Emily's true potential. After Kevin was emotionally struck by Lauren's faith in Emily, he immediately apologized for forsaking Lauren. He disciplines himself to stand on his head while he deems his punishment is over. Lauren and the other vessels leave him behind. In the next episode, Kevin went around and told the other vessels he is to help others and to become better samurai, which annoyed the rest of the Rangers. Even Lauren finds his actions insufferable and tries to hide away from him. Also, Mike noticed that she has been pulling her sleeves over her hands. Her knuckles are charred and burned. During training, Emily accidentally injures Mike and insisted on tending to him. G and Lauren observe the Rangers. We can tell Mia and Kevin are very well seasoned fighters. G notices that Emily is very good with the sword, but is terrible with everything else. Mike is still playing catch up, despite having a lot of potential. While Emily is tending to Mike's wounds, she makes a mess and takes full responsibility and apologizes for being so clumsy and stupid. While spying on the Rangers as they were outside of the mansion, Cthulhu states these new Rangers are not worthy of being samurai, while channeling more of his CGI powers to the inactive Tigress Folding Zord. Dayu noted that his tone sounds almost like he's envious of them for being Rangers. Cthulhu tells Dayu to shut her mouth. Dayu then says, "Truth hurts, doesn't it?" Then, that inspired Cthulhu. He uses the rage he has collected from Xandred and summons a Nylok onto Earth. Cthulhu laments the fact that Xandred is still not as powerful yet, so he'll be needing lackeys. If he was, more than a few Nihilocks could be sent to Earth at once. Only powerful Nihilocks can leave the realm by themselves, such as Dayu and another stray Nihiloc. Cthulhu actually relied on Xandred's power to cross dimensions. When the Nihiloc arrived, it kept insulting Dayu, which threw her against the walls, with quotes like, "You're wasting your time waiting for him," and "You're tormenting people because you think the world owes you." Later, after confronting the Nihiloc who eludes the Samurai Rangers, the team go in search for the young boy whom the monster made a promise to, the Little Leaguer. Kevin and Mia manage to find him and attempt to talk to the Little Leaguer, but the boy refuses to answer and pedals off. Following him to his home to learn whatever the secret the Nihiloc has, Kevin and Mia notice the boy has been continuously practicing. Kevin was touched and stated he was the same in his Shakespearean acting days. He starts crying. Mia concludes Kevin is homesick, even though Kevin denies it. The two get into a discussion if Kevin has any personal regret of suspending his lifelong dream as a Shakespearean actor that he has been keeping to himself. So Mia comforts him, later giving him a poorly made muffler and a meal as they spend the night at a stakeout. While Mia was cooking, Emily is impressed by her cooking skills while Lauren and Mike questions it, wondering if it's edible. While tending to Kevin, Mia also explains even though she has discarded her dream for now, but she will still be going back to it. That is the reason why she fights. Her resolve to put an end to the Nihiloc threat so one day she can open a vegan restaurant with someone special. She tells Kevin his Shakespearean theater days will wait for him. The next day, the Nihiloc appears and subjects his victims to insults that hurt their feelings so deeply that the verbal abuse actually becomes a physical attack. He managed to destroy an entire university building with 2 words: student debt. The Samurai Rangers are also struck down by the Nihiloc's verbal attacks. Lazy bum, crybaby, friend-zoned, phony poser. But for Samurai Yellow, when the Nihiloc calls her stupid, she is unaffected and continues fighting, forcing that Nihiloc to retreat. Kevin said the Nihiloc is the most cruel to him, and he's hilariously sobbing over it. Lauren tries to console him, saying it is the job for a theater actor to be dramatic. It isn't his fault, as this is part of his job. She explained that Nihilocs can sense emotions by just smelling the person, even though they can't read minds, but they could read into their insecurities. When the Samurai Rangers wonder why Emily was immune to the Nihiloc attacks, Emily simply says that everything it said about her was mostly true. Mike's inferiority complex kicks in and he berates Emily for believing herself to be so lowly, and she runs out as Mike goes after her. Lauren then sends Kevin and Mia to look for the boy. They found the Little Leaguer on the move as he suddenly disposes all of his baseball stuff. The Little Leaguer believes the Nihiloc for telling the truth. He calls the Nihiloc as he performs his end of the promise, hurting himself so he cannot play baseball in order to get his grandfather resurrected from the dead. However, the Nihiloc revealed it to be a lie as part of his plan to make the boy cry to flood the Xandred River. Vowing to make the Nihiloc play, Kevin, Mia transform to fight him as Lauren arrives to help. Kevin says the Nihiloc words won't hurt him ever again. Words are meaningless. Nihiloc runs up to his face and calls him "Kiss up daddy's boy," which sends him crashing into the wall with Lauren facepalming. When Mike catches up to Emily, she tells him that the one person who could always comfort her when she felt low was her sister. When her sister became ill, Emily says she will remain strong and smile to whatever happens. It was implied it was Emily's younger sister, since it's the firstborn of the family that takes the title of the heir as a retainer. She then continues that whenever she smiles, it feels like it will remove the misery and gloom in the situation for everyone. She resolved to be strong for both of them, so it won't worry her sister. Mike apologizes to Emily for his outburst, since he feels that he is weak and she overshadows him. Mike says he wants to surpass Lauren, yet he's beaten by such a younger fighter. When Emily says she is a failure, it makes him feel bad. Now Mike has resolved to just be the best version of himself rather than comparing himself to others after speaking to Emily. Emily says she likes how straightforward and passionate he is towards being a samurai. She is sure that Mike would improve a lot if he keeps that passion up. The two were called in to join Mia and Kevin to fight. The Nihiloc says his only business is with Emily and swears he can just use words to destroy her. He then summons the Azazoths. The other Rangers faces off against them, while Emily faces off against the Nihiloc. While throwing insults at Emily, she was able to ignore it. Mike, annoyed by the insults hurled at her, runs to aid Emily. While Samurai Red deals with the Azazoth, Samurai Yellow and Samurai Green team up and successfully disable the Nihiloc by plugging his mouth up. Samurai Blue and Samurai Pink tag teams in and defeat the Nihiloc as he revives into a giant. After the Dragon and Turtle Folding Zord get a shot at the giant Nylok, Samurai Megazord is formed and finishes the Nylok off by itself. Once the battle is over, Emily collapses from exhaustion, tears rolling out of her closed eyes. Mia warmly suggested that the words indeed hurt her. Lauren said that Emily actually held it all in. Kevin then said Emily's so strong for being able to do that, and he feels ashamed for being hurt by the words so easily. Mia then said being called a daddy's boy must have been traumatizing. Kevin then falls to his knees, sobbing. Lauren then tells him to knock it off. Everyone has a weakness. Mia then asked Lauren, even lords as posers? Lauren remained quiet. Having gained significant respect for her, Mike carries Emily on his back as they head home. Her lips curled into a sweet smile. The team passes by the Little Leaguer as he stands by the sidelines. Lauren eases the Little Leaguer with the CGI power of showing a vision of his grandfather, overwatching him. As the team continues walking home, Kevin is confused when Mia turns him down for a relationship. As Mike explains, Mia is the mother of the group. All her caring and kindness is because she sees all the fellow Samurai Rangers as mother. Once again, when Lauren is alone, she immediately sits down. Her caretaker is covering her in bandages. Her attacks are also hurting her physically as well. How strange this isn't affecting other Samurai Rangers when they use their CGI. While the Vessels spend their leisure time at an amusement park, Lauren trains to master the use of the orange disc, the Coleoptera disc. She needs to double her CGI power. G suggested that Lauren should take a rest and find some other ways to channel her powers. Lauren refuses as she is trying to master the third Shiba Head's signature move. Shiba Accord states he has the weakest fire CGI power when compared to all the other Shiba heads. He was able to cast the greatest devastating fire attacks, implying her powers are as weak or even weaker than this third head. If she could recreate that technique, her team could be reliant on her and not fear the next Nylok escalation. She fears the powers of the Coleoptera disc could destroy her before she can control it, despite the fact she has been training for years. G wants her to go and take the day off, but she refuses. G knows deep down she wants to go to the amusement park, since it's her childhood favorite thing to do. Lauren coyly says no. Then G reminisces about the time Lauren being scared of all the exciting rides and would only go for the mild ones, like merry-go-round and the Ferris wheel. Lauren shyly said she doesn't remember. G then asks if it's because she is still having trauma from the haunted house that she got so scared she wet herself. Lauren abashedly tells him she was 5. It's the first time the audience sees Lauren having a shy smirk, seeing a humanizing moment with Lauren. Meanwhile, the Vessels are engaged in a Nylok sniper attack whose attacks have no effect on his flexible body and are no match for his marksmanship. Samurai Red arrives, but the full team is no match for the monster. CGI power was able to hit this monster sniper, but still not strong enough. Thus, Lauren takes out the Coleoptera disc, but she hesitates. Fortunately, the Nylok falls back when he begins to dry up after it gave a good beating. While at the Shiba house, Chi instills hope to the Vessels as Lauren reveals the orange disc to them. It may be the key to defeat this Nylok. Lauren told them there were so many discs passed down from generation to generation and tuned for the Samurai Rangers. Some were unfortunately lost in battle. Unless it's the main folding Zord, the additional Zords are connected to the discs. If it breaks, the Zord could go rabid once it gets disconnected from the disc. Lauren says she will be able to master the Coleoptera folding Zord. The Nylok left before she was able to use the finisher, that's it. Mike says it's a huge relief. Kevin nagged Mike not to be lazy in his training and shouldn't be over-reliant on their lord, since it is their job to protect her and fight alongside with her, not being some dead weight. We also learn the truth about katanas, since they are almost ineffective against this monster. They are good against samurai armor during the feudal periods, but they are not the best kind of swords. This Nylok attack proves it. Usually, Azazoth's and Nylok body structures are similar to samurai armor, but this Nylok body is very different. Thus, katanas are useless against them. When Lauren left, Mike told the rest of the team he noticed that Lauren was covered in burnt wounds and bruises that she's trying to hide underneath her sleeves. Mia then questions Lauren's firepower, since she remembers the story her parents told her about. A child with a Shiba bloodline, they can already control any disc they want. Why did Lauren hesitate? Kevin told them not to doubt Lauren's ability. Perhaps Lauren is worried the rebound of the flame power might hurt the Vessels. Emily also said the Nyloks are getting stronger through escalation. Kevin reminds them that the powers of the Nylok reside within Master Xandred. Angry and more awake he is, the more powerful the Nyloks will become. They should be prepared for his return. That evening, Lauren keeps training into the night, nearly destroying herself with G watching with worry. He hesitates to stop Lauren, since Lauren explains to the group is starting to fear the Nylocs, and fear would put them at a huge disadvantage. Lauren's strength was how it held up the team so far. All her fellow samurai, no matter how much potential they have, lack the training she has endured, and they all, subconsciously, rely on her. Without this backbone of reliability, it would end the team. Their lives are in her hands. Lauren cannot show any weaknesses since they are still growing to know each other. She knows she is trying to emulate the previous Shiba Lords. She solemnly watches Lauren and reminds her the team trusts her and would support her no matter what. The next day, a rehydrated Nyloc resumes his attack, with the vassals arriving to fight him, but they are no match. G finds an unconscious Lauren on the ground. He hesitates to wake her up due to her substantial injuries, but it is the Shiba code to protect until their last breath. Thus he woke her up. Lauren says she is on her way and she was just taking a short nap. She also uses CGI power to heal Lauren, but her wounds would open up again if she moves too much. This gave Lauren an idea. If she can't power up her CGI powers overnight, what if she borrows them from her teammates? As Lauren arrives to challenge the Nyloc, though reluctant at first, Lauren channels enough CGI power through borrowing her teammates and putting it into the discs, through the use of the Coleoptera disc, allowing her Fire Smasher to assume blaster mode to destroy the Nyloc. When the Nyloc is resurrected into a giant, the Samurai Rangers earn the Coleoptera Zord, which gave them the Samurai Megazord, the Beetleborg formation. After the fight, the other Rangers invite Lauren to come and join them for the amusement park. Lauren just coolly told them no, she's going home, and tells them to have fun. Mike mutters he doesn't get Lauren's personality, she is so weird. Emily was disappointed, but Mia said she is just hiding her vulnerability. Perhaps Lauren thinks emoting is weakness. When Lauren sees G back home, Lauren collapses in exhaustion as G helps her up. G is glad he indirectly helped her figure out teamwork through the combined CGI power attack. The other Rangers noted the Coleoptera disc must have drained a lot of energy. Back in her room, Lauren started crying happy tears and said she was so scared if the Coleoptera disc didn't work, they would have been finished. Why is she only showing her emotional vulnerability to G? When will the others see Lauren's true face? In the Xandred River realm, Cthulhu talks about the sniper weapon used by the Nyloc in this episode, and if he could train a firing squad of his Azoths, this could easily lead him to victory. Xandred despises firearms as it's a human invention, but he lets go of his ego and allows Cthulhu to carry out some trainings for specially selected Azoths. Cthulhu says he has been trying to find an alternative mid-range attack since the use of his water CGI power has been diminished and compromised ever since he was a Nyloc. Dai asks Cthulhu, is that why you haven't been using the Tigress Folding Zord for a long period of time? Cthulhu says the Tigress Folding Zord is ready for use again. During breakfast, with the usual exchange between Mike and Kevin, they were interrupted by G. He said the Sophia's Folding Zord had been sighted at the deep water coast, but the Nyloc trip sensor was activated at the same time. Lauren dispatches Kevin with a disc that has CGI power of catch. This will link the Zord back to the disc so it can be tamed. Kevin attempts to fish the Zord using CGI power to lure it back to the shore. He was spotted by a mysterious fisherman. When Kevin held the catch disc, the stranger muttered, "A Samurai Ranger." As the Rangers fight against the Nyloc of the day, they notice they are getting stronger and stronger each episode. Lauren noted that Xandred must have been very much active and has been quite restless, transferring his power to his Nyloc underlings. Turns out, the Nyloc also has the Tigress Folding Zord and sent it to attack the Rangers. The Rangers sent out their own Zords to try to subdue it, but it did not match against it. Lauren notices it uses water CGI powers. It's strong against her fire powers. Mia's wind power would only be absorbed and increase its power. Even though earth and tree power can subdue it, Emily and Mike's powers are not on the same level. Only the Sophia's Folding Zord could nullify this evil water CGI possessing the Zord. After many failed attempts to catch the wild Folding Zord, Kevin stares at the bunch of junk and garbage he ended up fishing. The mysterious fisherman continues to watch his determination. When he looks away, Kevin passes out from exhaustion. The fisherman then took Kevin to his quarters by the shores for him to rest. When Kevin woke up, the fisherman tells him he needs to rest from overusing so much CGI. To Kevin's surprise, since not a lot of people have knowledge about it. The fisherman said he used to know someone fighting for the Shiba clan. The fisherman also said he knew someone who went to high school with a few Power Rangers before following his father's footsteps and working for the Samurai Shiba clan. Kevin then drops to his knees in amazement and asks if the fisherman knows someone who is a ranger or a samurai veteran. The fisherman then brushes it off, saying the person he knew isn't that much big of a deal. Kevin asked where the nobleman is. The fisherman said the man he knew was dead from the previous samurai lord died. He seems quite resentful towards the samurai. And he said, they all talk big and almighty, but end up not even being able to protect their lord. He asks, what is the point of fighting when they lose their leader? Before Kevin could respond, he was contacted by G. The Tigress Folding Zord is causing a rampage. It is also spreading the poison by the Nylok of the day. The Cepheus Folding Zord has healing abilities that can cure him as well. Kevin's CGI power of Rain Dance can spread its healing powers. Later, the fisherman introduces himself as Eugene. He tells Kevin to quit being the samurai while he can. In these years of battles, one can never win. It is constant struggle and battle. It is better to peel the band-aid quickly than slowly, because the Shiba Lord always perishes in battle, as seen in history. The pain in losing one's leader is unbearable. Kevin responds, as a samurai, he must fight. Eugene asks, why must the samurai fight? Kevin said it is the duty for each generation of samurai to serve the Shiba clan. Eugene said, it's just parents projecting their duty on their children. You don't decide on being a samurai or who your lord is. Living by the book, and when the pages fall off, you will lose everything. Though Eugene questions the point of his endeavor, Kevin politely ignores him and resumes fishing, as G urgently asks him about the situation, rushing him. Through the phone, Kevin overheard G urging Lauren to stay in bed and rest. Lauren ignores G and gets up. G then asks how long will it take Kevin to retrieve the Zord, but Lauren just grabs the phone and tells him, no pressure, not to worry, focus on getting the Zord. The team will handle the Nylok. He should just focus. Lauren said she didn't let Kevin to catch the Zord to see if he could do it, but she has pure faith in Kevin that he can do it. Lauren heads out in order to slow the Nylok down in spite of the pain from the poison. Motivated by his lord's determination, Kevin continued on even he was exhausted. Eugene tells him to stop when Kevin collapses. Kevin rebuttals he will not to his lord empty-handed. Eugene tells him that the lord isn't something that important. It is just a title. But Kevin responds, he knows he is brought up the way by his parents to blindly worship and follow the Lord. But upon hearing his Lord's voice, and from the time and fighting alongside her, it gave him resolution. If he blindly follows his parents' indoctrination, it is basically a fight for the Lord just because. Kevin isn't fighting for the Shiba clan nor his Lord. He's fighting to protect the humanity. Kevin knows Lauren is risking her life to do the same as well. That is his decision to follow Lauren to protect the world. No matter how the battle ends, it will not be in vain because he knows they will succeed. The world is counting on them. Touched by the speech, Eugene helps Kevin, instructing him how to use his CGI powers. Kevin finally manages to fish the Cepheus Folding Zord out with the aid of Eugene. With the Cepheus disc in hand, Kevin manages his way to Lauren and the other rangers who are fighting while being poisoned. Kevin uses the disc's power to cure everyone. Lauren was able to subdue Tigress Folding Zord after Kevin's rainwater powers were able to nullify the evil control. The Samurai Rangers destroyed the Nylok again with a newly formed Cepheus Samurai Folding Zord. Kevin heads back to the shed to find Eugene but couldn't find him anywhere. Kevin found a thank you note from Eugene for reminding him something important, and that note actually has a logo at the back of it. It says Angel Groves High. So at the end, we see G speaking to Eugene. Eugene offers his service back to the Shiba house to work as a caretaker again, accepted by him. Eugene also said the reason why he returned, even though his parents sent him away to Angel Grove, was because he met some Power Rangers and it inspired him to return to the Shiba clan and serve. Mike has been training a lot, waking up earlier than the other Rangers to increase his powers, but he got too zealous that he messed up the battle formation. During the fight, Samurai Green attempts to use the Colotera disc to fight, only to be unable to use its powers as the Nylok is escaping. The uncontrollable huge surplus of power from the disc only grazed his hand, unlike Lauren, who was badly hurt by the uncontrollable energy during her training as shown earlier. Thus, Green Ranger summoned his Bear Zord to attack the Nylok. Mike accidentally created havoc and mass panic, chasing the Nylok down the streets. His Bear Zord ends up doing more harm than good. So this is why the Power Rangers never send out their Zords to just destroy an 8-foot-tall monster. Soon after, an errant G chews up Mike as the two argues, while the other vessels attempt to stop the fight. G says it is very dangerous to act out of the team battle formation. It would not only endanger himself, but civilians as well. Ji also said he has embarrassed the entire samurai team and the Shiba clan. Ji also did the calculation of the damages, and he has to deduct a huge chunk out of the samurai relief budget from the Mega Monster attack funds, even though it's not from a Mega Monster attack. After the childish brawl, Ji and Lauren discuss the team. Lauren says everyone has a different approach to learning. Ji's teaching did wonders for her, but it will definitely not work on Mike. Lauren says Mike is the type who prefers to find his own samurai way rather than be obediently told. The Socrates method works best for him. Ji sees some wooden bamboo decorations and it gives him an idea. While Mike is in the arcade, he begins to reflect upon his actions. He finds himself so foolish and pathetic for holding the group back and not being a team player. After the two calm down, Ji approaches Mike. Ji instructed Mike every time he conjures the CGI power, he must focus on why he wants to be a superhero. Also, Mike should think about the element of his plant CGI, since it's very different from the others. His CGI is conjuring living plants, unlike the others which produces non-living magic. It is very unique. After this meditation, and by the time the two apologize to each other, Mike runs to his teammate when they were overwhelmed by the Nylok. Mastering a CGI power of plant, using it at the last second, Samurai Green manages to kill the monster by mustering enough energy through his determination and willpower, and why he wants to become a superhero. Alright, so how come Mike took so short to master the basic CGI powers while Lauren took her entire life? This isn't adding up. After Samurai Pink gives Samurai Green the Taurus Zord, Lauren, Kevin, and Mike summons the Pavo Folding Zord. With the Samurai Megazord providing backup, the Pava Folding Zord manages to destroy the Nylok. Soon after, in spite of coming to terms, Mike and G get into another fight with Mike pranking G, saying how G taught him to never let his guard down. The Azazoth are kidnapping brides from weddings all over the city. In order to figure out why, Lauren and her vessels disguise themselves as a wedding party, hoping to bait the Azazoth. Mia is disguised as a groom, as Lauren is the bride. After their last effort proves unsuccessful, Lauren manages to get all upcoming weddings cancelled, save for one, in order to improve their chances of confronting the Azazoth. This time, Lauren stands in disguise as an elderly groom and Mia as a young bride. They put up little resistance against the Azazoth, allowing Mia to be kidnapped. Mia is brought before Dayu, who has been kidnapping the brides, hoping to use her tears to finish the brocade on her wedding dress. Dayu reveals that she knew that the Samurai Rangers would try to stop her, so she dispatched a second set of Azazoth to kidnap the real bride. She sensed her emotions and revealed the two are quite similar. Dayu knows that Mia has an aura of being sorrowful for being rejected by love. Dayu said the cruel experience of love has turned her into what she is. Perhaps Samurai Pink would be a perfect fit to be a Nylok as well. She then forces Mia to call Lauren and others and lure them into an ambush and poised to strike Mia down. The Samurai Rangers arrive to rescue Mia, and Samurai Red reveals that she had her own counterplan. The real bride turns out to be Kevin disguised, and CGI power-based clones were used to make Dayu think that her plan has been successful. After the Samurai Rangers free the captive brides, they battle Dayu and her Azazoth. Before they can finish her off with a Fire Smasher, Deker interferes and counters the attack. Lauren is shocked because only the legendary samurai armor powers could withstand the power of the Fire Smasher. Deker says Lauren is still seasoning, but when she is ready, the two will duel as a vow made between two parties. Deker spurts Dayu away, with a giant Azazoth providing cover for them. Samurai Megazord, using both the Heliotera and Zephia's Folding Zord, destroys the remaining grunts. Mike praises Kevin for his acting, but he says his skills in cross-gender acting are still not there yet, since he is still mastering to disguise his voice as of a young girl. Mia's worried about the traditional saying that wearing a wedding dress before marriage would jinx her future marriage. It was also revealed that Mia has a crush on a boy back home. Emily calms her down and suggests eating in a cake shop. She even invites Lauren as well. And it is first time we see Lauren joining the other Rangers together, so she is slowly warming up to others. Afterwards, as the vessels head to the cake shop to celebrate, Lauren is troubled by Deker's parting shot about testing her abilities soon. Just what vow is Deker talking about that Lauren doesn't even know about? In the Sanji River realm, Dayu asks if Deker has finally remembered who she is. Deker turns around and says he only saved her because a Nylok king tasked him to, so he's owed a favor. He coldly states he does not remember her and neither cares about her existence. Dayu stood there silently as she watched Deker leaves. Frustrated at how slowly he is healing, an enraged Xandred drunkenly sends an entire army of Azazoth to the mortal realm, with Samurai Rangers managing to drive the sluggish army of Azazoth back to the Sanji River, while another wave takes place. They're all going after Samurai Red on Xandred's intoxicated command. After Samurai Red takes them all out, the Vassals learn that the Nylok are now after Lauren, as her death would ensure Xandred would never be resealed. While Xandred takes a nap from drinking too much human fear brew, Cthulhu summons the Nylok swordsman, who uses the Shiba House's detection system to lure the Samurai Rangers into a trap and calls Lauren out. Not wanting the Vassals to risk their lives for her, Lauren accepts the Nylok's challenge and fights the Nylok by herself. Losing to the Nylok, Samurai Red is horrified when Samurai Blue and Samurai Yellow take a hit meant for her. But then, Deker arrives to personally kill Samurai Red himself. It led to an explosive three-way sword fight with the wounded Mia and Mike forced to watch. With the fight ending in a stalemate as he dries up, Nylok swordsman takes his leave as Deker follows after seeing Lauren is not ready for their fight yet, as he had planned decades ago. Later that night, as Emily and Kevin have their wounds tended to, a torn Lauren ran off into the night in spite of her own injuries. She thinks to himself, is Lauren's lordship burden finally too heavy for her to carry? Burdened by the newfound pressure of her vessels risking their lives to protect her, Lauren left a note for the rest of their team which says she has reflected deeply on her life choices. She disbands the entire team to the other Rangers' shock. The Rangers were told their services are no longer required due to their safety, and Lauren is moving their base to somewhere else, so it won't affect them. While this occurred, after hearing of Deker's meddling, Xandred sicks Azazoth after Deker for stopping the Nylok swordsman from killing Lauren. After Deker is driven off in human form, Cthulhu tells the Nylok swordsman to resume his mission. The next day, G pretends not to show concern for his lord's decision. While at a train station, Mike and Mia discusses their troubles of Lauren wanting to end their mission as Kevin and Emily overhears them. While sitting on a dock bench, Lauren meets a young boy who lost his father during a previous Nylok attack. When the Nylok begin attacking the district, flush out their quarry, the Nylok swordsman attempts to kill the boy when Lauren returns to save him. Her vessels arrive to hold off the Azazoth as Lauren is convinced to return, as it is both duty and destiny. Kevin says he has entrusted her life onto Lauren, and he knows Lauren is the key to ending Xandred. Mia says they are all in this together, and they will face the Nylok challenge together. Have more faith, since Lauren's retainers won't be destroyed so easily. Emily says she relies on Lauren, and Lauren's reliability makes the team stronger and pushes them forward. Mike says he still needs her around as a measuring stick so he can surpass her, jokingly. And Kevin responds with, bruh. The Samurai team manages to counter the Nylok swordsman's signature attack with their Fire Smasher blaster mode, destroying him. When he resurrects the giant, the Nylok summons the giant Azazoth to overwhelm the Samurai Megazord. On Kevin's suggestion, the Samurai Rangers summon Pavo Zord and have it combined with Samurai Megazord to form the Samurai Pavo Megazord, with Lauren saying that it is the first time Mike has gained her respect. Taking out the giant Azazoth, Samurai Pavo Megazord slays the Nylok with its final attack. Soon after, Lauren receives a warm welcome to the Shiba House. Meanwhile, Dai finds Deker's body washed up on the shores of the Sanji River. She immediately rushes to nurse him back, saying, this brings back all the memories centuries ago. Returning after what deemed to be a false detection of a Nylok attack on the gap sensor, the Samurai Rangers find an arrow with a note on it that says, coming soon, with Lauren sensing something from before within the house as it starts to haunt her. Deciding to investigate the gap sensor, the vessels encounter a sushi selling man whose handwriting matches the note. After the seller gives them the slip with sushi filled with wasabi, Japanese mustard, Kevin and Mia go to the Happy Valley to find Lauren, while Mike and Emily track down the sushi seller. By the time they find her, Samurai Blue and Samurai Pink find Samurai Red confronting the Nylok who has been spying on Lauren to find out about the Shiba Ceiling character. The crevices between the dimensions are cracking open again. Ceiling CGI knowledge has been lost centuries and was recently rediscovered 2 generations ago. The seals across Japan were used to stop the Nyloks from entering. The only crevices left in the world are left in Aroma Port City. Thus, the Shiba clan is situated there to safeguard any intruders from the Sanji River, as they have not finished sealing it yet. It takes time to seal a crevice, just like how painting walls require multiple layers and time to dry. With the Nylok mirror destroyed, the The Nylok spy overwhelms the three with his magic as Mike and Emily arrives. The sushi seller overhears this and follows. But even all Samurai Rangers are no match for the Nylok spy as they were demorphed. The seller arrives to their aid and transforming into Power Ranger Samurai Gold. Just kidding. He transforms into Ninja Gold. Wait, Ninja Gold? Peering through the gap, Cthulhu, who was usually nervous and scared by Xandred easily, is enraged by the Sixth Ranger appearance. He screams how unfair it is to have a completely random person to join the team. Dayu chuckles at his inferiority complex. What is Cthulhu's deal with his Samurai Rangers? After taking out the Azazoth in blinding speed, Ninja Gold battles the spy and destroys him. When the spy revives, he overpowers Samurai Pavo Megazord until Ninja Gold enters to fight with the Tuthida Folding Zord to weaken the Nylok, which Lauren recognizes it. The Samurai Pavo Megazord lands a death blow. After the fight, Lauren reveals to her vessels that she already knows the sushi seller, Antonio. After the appearance of the Gold Ranger, the vessels learn from G that Antonio was a childhood friend of Lauren, whom he obtained the Tuthida Folding Zord from. Before Lauren could explain why, Antonio arrives late to declare himself a samurai ninja under Lauren. Antonio is also gifted with CGI when he was a child. Through studying the Thunder Morphers and CGI, he created his own morpher. He has also learned how to conjure CGI from Lauren's training when they were children. He was the child of a caretaker who used to serve the Shiba clan until they left. Antonio mastered computer coding with CGI. Since he doesn't know how to use the brush properly and to calligraphy, he uses a phone to text CGI instead. Mike asks if Antonio is a genius, and Antonio shyly says he doesn't know. G is biased towards Antonio since he saw him as a clown and won't take things seriously. He also sees him as a distraction to Lauren. And G says his evidence is based on the fact that he has left the Thunder Ninja Academy for being too flashy rather than staying hidden like a ninja. Antonio was surprised that G knows this. G tells Antonio the Samurai Shiba clan have eyes everywhere. Antonio says he only left the Thunder Ninja Academy because he saw himself as the Samurai Ninja hybrid. He's not allowed to use CGI magic during exams, which he finds very limiting. G told him ninjas and samurai are very different. G says he will grant Antonio the rank of Samurai Vessel if he could help them find the legendary Mozaris disc, which has been lost in battles centuries ago. Antonio then says even if he is not wanted, he will intervene the next time the Samurai Rangers enter the battle. Lauren asks Antonio what he could provide to the team, since what she needs are already there. Otherwise, it will disrupt the team dynamics, and it'll put everyone in danger. Antonio then leaves part of his morpher behind and walks out confidently, saying that he will find a way on how he could provide for the Samurai Shiba clan. Antonio says he will be back for that disc. He will not give up, just like the Samurai Rangers. Meanwhile, back in the Sanju River, Cthulhu is relieved to find out there won't be any more 6 Rangers, stating, "Now that's fair, only 5 as it always should have been." The team was still debating about Antonio being on the team or not. Kevin and G states it's tradition to only have 5 Rangers, because there were cases of abuse of CGI which led to civil war and warring states in Japan. And let's not mention about the infamous 6 Ranger that happened a few generations ago, which nearly destroyed the Shiba clan. Mike and Emily think it would be important to have someone tech-savvy to be on their team. Antonio could help them create new Zords like Craftsman in the past, which are so rare now. Mia quietly says nothing will truly change Lauren's mind, because only Antonio could drive an emotion out of her. Perhaps Lauren doesn't think emoting is a good thing. Lauren leaves the room and takes out her calligraphone. She sees the image of Antonio's ridiculous outfit for his interview and laughs. Well, those pictures were taken by Mike sent to the group. And it is our first time in the season to see Lauren laughing, not being so uptight. Why is she hiding this? Kevin decides to look for Lauren, thinking she is upset. He then bumps into a man named Mr. Bulk by the front door. Mr. Bulk was one of the innocent bystanders poisoned by the Nylok monster, while Kevin was trying to find the Sevius Folding Zord. After seeing the Samurai Rangers transform and rescue the city, Mr. Bulk dubs himself the #1 fan of the Samurai Rangers and begs to be taught the ways of the samurai. Kevin reports this back to Lauren. Lauren says Kevin should just send Bulk away immediately. She adds in, they don't want to endanger any civilians. Mia says it won't be that easy since Bulk could reveal their identities to the public. Mike now understands why they have the caretakers with banners. It's to hide their identities, and it will be hard to send Bulk away. Emily says it is possible to teach Bulk their Japanese heritage and culture, despite not being Japanese descendants themselves. They could be the bridge between Western culture and Eastern culture. She then says it is possible to do that. Lauren says that idea is fantastic, win-win situation. If Bulk enjoys it, he will be on his way and spread the samurai culture, and if it bores him to death, Bulk might just leave and quit. The group decides to have Kevin run Mr. Bulk through a grueling training regimen, hoping that Mr. Bulk will quit out of frustration. Kevin feels guilty about being manipulative, decided to encourage him not to give up. Mr. Bulk, feeling that he is learning well, is encouraged by supposed progress that he places himself harm's way when the other Samurai Rangers take on the Nylok. When the Nylok is on the brink of defeating the Samurai Rangers, when he retreats, needing to rehydrate. Later, when Mr. Bulk meets up with Kevin for his next training session, Kevin tells him that he cannot train Mr. Bulk anymore and leaves. Mr. Bulk interprets Kevin's words, thinking that he has mastered his training, and joins the Samurai Rangers as they prepare to confront the Nylok the next day. After the Nylok's sucker punch nearly kills Mr. Bulk, Samurai Blue launches the first assault against the Nylok, and the other Rangers follow suit before the Nylok takes them all down very easily. Mr. Bulk implores the Samurai Rangers to keep fighting, which revitalizes their fighting spirit. Samurai Red hands off the Fire Smasher blaster mode to Samurai Blue, who alongside Mr. Bulk uses the Cepheus disc to destroy Nylok's first life, with the Samurai Pavo Megazord destroying the Nylok for good. Afterwards, Mr. Bulk announces that he is returning back to his home Angel Grove to teach his Samurai Code to his friends, and Kevin and the other Samurai Rangers wishes him good luck. Mr. Bulk also says he will not give up until he finishes spreading the word of the samurai to all. This made Lauren think about her friend, Antonio. After nearly losing to the vengeful Nylok before he falls back into the Xandred River, Lauren is confronted by the vessels on her reasons for turning Antonio down. Mike and Emily decide to seek out Antonio. The other vessel said, Mr. Bulk proved that anyone has a spirit to be a samurai. Why not have someone who actually have CGI power to fight alongside with them? CGI power is very, very rare. Lauren just coolly says, it is tradition and a sworn statement to only have 5 samurai to fight. Otherwise, it might cause instability and corruption. And also reminding the team, there was one generation with 6 rangers, and one of them turned into a traitor. He lost his way and betrayed them by stealing the legendary samurai armor. Mia offers to spar with Lauren. During the sword fight practice, Mia believes Lauren doesn't want to put her friend in danger. Mia also says the feeling of putting lives into their lord's hand and vice versa with the retainers are mutual. Mia thinks there is a deeper meaning than Lauren's excuse. Just because an old childhood friend exposes Lauren's emoting doesn't make her weak. It's for the retainers to protect her during moments of weakness. Mia relates to Lauren because Mia wants to stay away from the special boy she is in love with back home, to protect him from her samurai duties, and also to spare her own emotions. Emily sees that with Antonia around, it exposes her emotional vulnerability, and Lauren doesn't want that. Mostly because Lauren does not want to bond with her samurai retainers, fearing she will lose them once they are emotionally connected. Mike says Lauren can't put a cold exterior around herself anymore, nor hide her emotions, since it goes against Lauren's need of hiding herself to act cool, which Kevin immediately says, bruh. Kevin says the other retainers won't change their minds. He can also tell Antonio's appearance made Lauren very happy, and Kevin is an actor. He can sense real emotions very well. Kevin says, in the worst case scenario, he will be Antonio's babysitter. Lauren tries to walk away when she meets G in her chambers. G tells her what her retainer said was true. She also added, in the samurai tradition, it is true that there can only be 5 samurai, but it never said anything about pushing away allies. The Samurai Shiba clan has many allies before, such as the Folding Zord craftsmen and the caretakers. Perhaps it's time to ally themselves with a ninja. Meanwhile, Antonio tries to realize what he can bring to the team as he is spying on the crevices. There was an Azazoth attack in his area predicted by his morpher. While the Azazoth starts attacking civilians, Antonio fends them off, but when the Nylok steps in, he forgets he does not have his Shushi morpher. Before the Nylok finishes him off, the Samurai Ranger arrives to the rescue and fends off the Azazoth. Antonio tells Lauren he has resolved. As the Samurai Rangers are always on the defense, he will be the aggressor and the spy of the team. He will bring an end of the Nylok attacks. He would give his life to end what has happened to both him and Lauren. so no child would have to experience what they've had. Then there was a childhood flashback. Antonio was actually present during the final battle when the Nilox sacked the Shiba Mansion. It was after that his family moved away from the Shiba Mansion to Angel Grove. Remembering the promise she made with Antonio years ago, Lauren acknowledges her friend as part of the team, the newest member, Gold Ninja Ranger. This is a nod and a flip to the Ninja Storm, where the 5 main rangers were ninjas and the 6th member was a samurai. While the vessels deal with the Azazoth, Samurai Red and Ninja Gold combine their signature moves to destroy the Nilok. After it revives, Samurai Megazord has a hard time until Tethida Folding Sword arrived and combines onto Samurai Megazord to form Ika Samurai Megazord, who freezes the Nilok before destroying him. Soon after the fight, the gang celebrates their newest ally by eating out at the gold sushi cart. Lauren privately spoke to G, asking if she's gotten weaker, since she has been fine fighting alone all her life. She said the so-called weaker side of Lauren makes her much happier. It is something that G has wished Lauren has since she was a child. Friendship. Antonio's goal right now is to work his way to earn the rank of samurai. In the Sanju River, Cthulhu's completely enraged by Antonio joining the Samurai Rangers, saying how unfair it is there should only be 5 Rangers. This is complete BS. And to the point even Xandred tells him to shut it. While introducing the Homaris Folding Zord, which he created with Sushi Morpher, Antonio gets into a fight with Kevin, who sees him as the opposite of what a samurai is supposed to be. Also, Antonio's room is a complete mess. His room was clustered with newspaper clippings and photos of random areas throughout decades, like even all the way back in the 1800s. Antonio says it's to scout for the legendary Mosaris disc. G says its status is so legendary that it is as hard to find as the Holy Grail and the Fount of Youth. Antonio rebuttals that the disc exists and he will become a samurai after finding it. Antonio talks to the other vessels on how to win Kevin's acceptance as well. Mike says Kevin behaves like clockwork and works on a rigid schedule. Mia says Kevin is very dedicated to being a samurai. Emily says Kevin focuses a lot on health as well. Later, Antonio poses as a caretaker to spy on Kevin and learn to be more like him. While following Kevin on his early morning jog, Antonio and Kevin hear the scream of schoolgirls that were gathered by the Nilok. Kevin tells Antonio to quit hiding in the trees and help him out. Antonio asks, how did he find out? Kevin says, Antonio's ninja parlor tricks learned from the Bradley's Ninja High School are no match to his Akanami Samurai Homeschool. The girls were gathered as part of the Cthulhu's plan to sacrifice them to open up a permanent point between the 2 realms. This well, which will be turned into a Nilok command post, has been filled with Cthulhu's CGI powers, which stabilizes it, so Sanju River waters could fill it up. Nilox can be rehydrated at this well rather than going back to the river. Cthulhu says high school girls are one of the most terrifying subset of human beings. Backstabbing, cruel, mean-spirited, judgmental, bullies. The perfect sacrifice for the Nilok with their tainted spirits. Antonio chuckles that Cthulhu should wear a fedora and start calling himself a nice guy. Kevin responds most high school girls treated him well when he was a teenager. Antonio chuckles, saying Kevin will never understand because he's never been in high school. He has never experienced high school drama before. And also Antonio mutters, high school girls may not be the best, but they aren't that evil. Unable to contact the others due to the barrier that Cthulhu set up around the area, Samurai Blue and Ninja Gold were disarmed as they were unable to fight against the oil-spitting Nilok who was working with Cthulhu. The Nilok blasted 2 off with oil. Ninja Gold says his weapon is as slippery as a wet eel, and both were unable to hold on to their weapons. Azazoth were then sent after them. Antonio asks why doesn't Kevin accept him as being part of the team. Kevin says samurai is a serious job, and what Antonio's witless behavior is treating his entire lifelong training as a joke. Antonio says everyone has a different way of handling pressure. He chooses to laugh at danger no matter how dire the situation gets. That is to ensure people around him feel safe, even if Antonio himself feels like he is about to die from fright. This resonated with Kevin. Perhaps Kevin's stern face and stoic scoldings to the Nilok, while encountering danger, is just his coping mechanism to scare off enemies, even if he is petrified. This is also to ensure people around him not to be defeated by their own fear. Just like acting, to ease the audiences in spite how uncomfortable Kevin might get during a play. Antonio just plays the clown to make a fool out of the Nilok, not undermining the samurai nor the dire situation. After taking out their pursuers and settling their differences, Samurai Blue and Ninja Gold wrapped clothes around their weapons so they could hold onto it tightly. They saved the schoolgirls as they battled the Nilox before the Samurai Rangers arrive. Seeing his plan as a failure, Cthulhu leaves after Samurai Blue nullifies the well's CGI power. The Nilox is destroyed by Ninja Gold and Samurai Blue, and later destroyed by the Megazords after it's resurrected. The girls thank the Samurai Rangers after the battle ended. As the group returns to Antonio's sushi stand, Kevin finally acknowledges there is more than one samurai way, as seen in Mike. However, Kevin argues with Antonio again after Antonio calls Homura's folding Zord Homer. Kevin says it is an insult to the great Greek writer Homer. While Antonio argues, well, the Simpsons made Homer into a full-blown idiot, Kevin insisted they should call the Zord Mr. Krabs instead, and Antonio says Mr. Krabs is the villain of SpongeBob. Alright, Riders and Rangers, thank you for tuning in How to Fix Samurai Part 2. Alright, Part 3 and 4 and so on will be completed as soon as possible. It is very hard to find a time to record because there is a lot of renovation around my apartment. So sometimes there's like random drills to the point that I can't even hear my own thoughts. So there are chances that I'll be using the robot voice. So yeah, thanks again for tuning in. If you like this, please leave a thumbs up, subscribe, favorite this video, share it, and leave a comment if you have your idea. I would love to hear you guys. Alright, thank you everyone. Have a nice day. Hunter Killer 1440 signing off.
Hello, Riders and Rangers. Welcome to How to Fix Samurai Part 3. To summarize the previous two parts, the Shiba Samurai clan originated from Japan. Centuries ago, they moved to Aroma Port City when the samurai were forced into retirement. However, there were Nilox attacks in the area, so the Shiba clan's leader recruited 4 warriors of different origins to become samurai. They pushed the Nilox back, but each generation, the Nilox would return, so these samurai warriors trained their descendants how to fight the Nilox through the use of swords and their symbol power known as Calligraphone-Generated Innovation, CGI for short. Currently, the Shiba clan is led by Lauren Shiba, who tries to distance herself from her vassals and is emotionally aloof. It takes time for her to warm up to her fellow samurai. It is believed that she should be some sort of overpowered Mary Sue. Kevin is the most well-trained. He is Lauren's self-proclaimed right-hand man and focuses on traditional samurai hierarchy. Mia is also a skilled fighter and she acts like the mother of the group. Free-spirited Mike has the most potential but is still playing catch-up in terms of power. Emily is the youngest member and soothes the team from each other's aggression. Newest 6th Ranger is Antonio, whom is neither a samurai as he is not of samurai descent. He is the Gold Ninja Ranger, and he has much to learn about the samurai. Our boss villain is Xandred, who nearly annihilated the Samurai Rangers in the previous generation battle before Lauren. He is still recovering from a failed attempt by the Samurai Rangers. His plan is to flood the human realm with Xandred River waters. Cthulhu is his advisor who plans out different ways to create human suffering, which would overflow the Xandred River, and he holds a strange grudge towards the Samurai Rangers. He is the only Nilox that knows how to use CGI. Dayu is Xandred's right-hand woman who plays her harmonium to soothe Xandred's constant pain and headaches. She has a secretive past which made her cruel and wretched. Nilox need a huge surge of Xandred's power of hate to enter the human realm. With that being said, bring out your calligraphones. Ready? Samurai Fortify! In the Xandred River, there are many different Nilox factions still in slumber. Apparently, it seems like only Xandred's clan is awake. Nilox Soul Lifter appears before Xandred as a representative of his Nilox king who has recently woke up. The king proposes some form of alliance with Xandred. Xandred, being preoccupied with recovering, made Cthulhu pass some of the CGI to Soul Lifter. Reluctantly, Cthulhu combined Xandred's rage with CGI so the Nilox could enter the human realm. When the Soul Lifter was gone, Cthulhu explains the other Nilox masters might try to take over Xandred's rightful place as the ruler of the Xandred River. Xandred tells him any methods to increase the waters is necessary. Cthulhu is worried his CGI powers might fall into the wrong hands. With the Nilox becoming stronger during the summer, G reveals that the Samurai Rangers need the black box to counter the increasing threat. It was incomplete by the previous generations and was lost when the Shiba Mansion was ransacked. Note, the Shiba Mansion has been ransacked many times when their defense has fallen. The Tengen Gate owners, allies of the Shiba clan, picked up a trace of it. Antonio also revealed he has recreated a character that prevents
Nylox from escaping them again. Mike and Kevin have been trying to help Antonio to finish the Homaris Folding Zord, but were unable to. Mike's CGI tree characteristics of living brought it to life. Unless Kevin doubles his CGI water element, Homaris Folding Zord is not powerful enough to transform into Megazord size, or warrior mode. The other CGI elements don't help with the process of Zord craftsmanship, but would be useful during battles. The three decides to take a break and help the others, preparing a surprise birthday party for Emily. Meanwhile, there is a frail blonde lady from Staunton Creek Farm holding a picture of Emily, looking for her. The party preparations are interrupted by the Nylox Soul Lifter attacks the city and devours people's souls. Antonio arrives late to the battle after encountering Deker, whom he believes to be an eccentric food critic. When a young wealthy man's soul was about to be stolen, Emily jumps in and took the blow for him instead. Emily's soul has been stolen by the Nylox, leaving her in comatose. It was revealed a body without a soul can only last for a day. By the time he reaches the battle, Antonio sensed that this Nylox is different and quickly carved a symbol on the Nylox before it escaped. Despite the male Samurai Ranger's attempt to stop him, the Nylox retreats into the Xandred River. Back in the Xandred River water, Cthulhu helps to rehydrate the Nylox. Cthulhu quietly sees the character carved into Soul Lifter's body, sees the character, and copies it down, saying Antonio will never be worthy of being a Samurai Ranger. When the Soul Lifter asks what Cthulhu is doing while he is copying the symbol down, Cthulhu says it's nothing, just a puzzle he is trying to solve. The next day, Emily regains consciousness just long enough to acknowledge her impending death, but she is calm and apologizes for her failure. Emily, drifting in and out of consciousness, she starts talking about how the one person who could always comfort her when she felt low was her sister, Gaia. Emily says she will remain smiling whatever happens. She'd much rather to meet her end surrounded by friends rather than being alone. She only wishes Gaia was there too. For the first time, we see Lauren emoting in front of her vessels. She freaks out over Emily's demise, losing composure, holding onto Emily, which was a disheartening sight for other rangers. Then there was a knock on the Shiba Mansion door. It was some frail lady looking for Emily. She claims to be the real Samurai Yellow, and she is Emily's sister, Gaia Anaori. To the team's surprise, Gaia was originally chosen to be Samurai Yellow, trained all her life to be a ranger, but because of some untreatable illness, Emily's sister became unfit for battle. The family was hoping for the Nylox to not attack this generation and wait for the next one. The previous Samurai Yellow is in no shape to fight, and is too weak. However, when Samurai Yellow was summoned by Lauren, Emily decided against her family's wishes and pulled a Mulan to fight in her sister's place to protect her. Gaia has been looking all over the state, planning to secretly bring her home without the Shiba clan knowing. Gaia was heartbroken when she realized Soul Lifter took Emily's soul. Gaia was the one who taught her to smile whatever happens, because it feels like it will remove the misery and gloom despite the situation for everyone. Gaia tells the Rangers not to blame themselves, as this war against the Nylox isn't going to be rainbows and unicorns. There will be collateral damage. This is why the samurai fight. To fight for others' smiles. An enraged Mike runs back to the location where the Nylox Soul Lifter left and calls for it, but he is unsuccessful. As Lauren, Mia, and Kevin catches up to Mike, Deker arrives and tells him that they can enter the Xandred River by giving up their humanity and becoming half Nylox, just as he had. Mike volunteered to become a Nylox if it means saving Emily and the other victims. But Antonio arrives with an alternative plan to both drag out the Soul Lifter and power up his Homaris Folding Zord. He sensed there is something different about this Nylox, and he could use the Homaris Folding Zord to fish it out. Using CGI power with a character that Antonio invented, the group manages to drag Soul Lifter back into their world and destroy him before he has a chance to escape. When the Nylox revives as a giant, and to the other samurai's surprise, Antonio was able to use the Homaris Folding Zord to battle against the giant Soul Lifter and his Mega Zazoth minions. He transforms the Homaris Folding Zord into warrior mode. With assistance from the Samurai Megazord, they destroyed its second life, freeing all of the souls to return to their bodies. Once the battle was over, Emily was recovered. Mike asks, why did Emily hide the fact from them? Emily says she does not want the team to see her as a burden. Lawrence says since the first day, she never saw her as a burden, but one of the pillars of the team. Emily asks for Gaia's blessing to take her place and explains that her sister has spent all her life protecting and looking after her. It is time for Emily to pay her back. Gaia finally gave her blessings to carry on the torch of becoming Samurai Yellow. That evening, Emily's birthday goes on without a hitch. It ended with Gaia saying how proud of her she is. Gaia knows this Samurai team are very close as family. It wouldn't be as powerful without Emily in it. Later, Gaia spoke to Lauren quietly, telling Lauren showing her emotions won't make her weak, but shows her appreciation of her vessels, which would make the entire team stronger than ever. Lauren quietly nodded. Meanwhile, Kevin asked Antonio how he was able to power up the Homaris Folding Zord. Antonio said he has sensed the aura of CGI water element surrounding Soul Lifter, and that symbol actually drains CGI from the Nylok and be placed into the Zord. Antonio says the water CGI that surrounds that Nylok felt like it's Kevin's CGI power of water. Kevin remains quiet and praises Antonio's success, which made his day, of course. Kevin solemnly reflects on what Antonio had said earlier. Mike overhears this. To Cthulhu's surprise, after analyzing the symbol he has copied from the Soul Lifter, he concluded it acted like a vacuum and sucked his CGI out of the Nylok when activated, even to the point of fishing the Nylok out of the Xandred River. Cthulhu was enraged at how his powers were used by the enemies. He swears to write a counter symbol to nullify it. Cthulhu also cursed the Shiba clan for allowing the younger sister of the Samurai Ranger to be a successor. How unfair the situation is. Back in Antonio's sushi cart, Antonio is continuing his research for the Mosasaurus disc using detective work, scans, and ancient literature cross-references while Mike speaks to him. Mike is starting to doubt Kevin's loyalty to the Shiba clan. Antonio tries to reassure him to trust Kevin. Then one of his best customers, Taurus Zord, son of a wealthy business family, comes by. He asks Antonio for a favor if Antonio can convince Emily to masquerade as a wealthy son's fiancée at a high society party. He wants to pay Emily back for rescuing him from Nylok's Soul Lifter from earlier. As Xandred is resting, a tarantula Nylok approaches Cthulhu and proposes an alliance. He has been excommunicated by Xandred for his betrayal. Knowing how Xandred has become so weak, he coerces Cthulhu to join him to destroy Xandred and steal his powers. Turns out, Xandred's weakened state has been leaked out and some Nyloks are plotting against him. Cthulhu states it's a silly plan as Xandred, even at this state, won't be so easily assassinated. The Tarantula Nylok says the sealing symbol would take care of Xandred, and they can rule the Xandred River together. Cthulhu, having his own agenda of discovering the sealing symbol, decides to temporarily team up with his own agenda. The Tarantula Nylok was given some CGI power by Cthulhu that could make him undetectable by the samurai temporarily, but this still isn't strong enough to enter the Shiba house, but is strong enough to infiltrate the Shiba allies' bases. How come Cthulhu knows so much about CGI camouflage? Meanwhile, waiting for the news on the black box, Antonio proposes to Emily to pretend to be his friend's wealthy fiancé to the Rangers and G. Emily is baffled as she grew up on a modest farm and knows not anything about high class. Antonio suggests that Lauren can teach her how to act like a high-end princess, since the Shiba clan is quite wealthy. Not only does Emily agree, but Lauren also agreed to propose as her maid despite Kevin's protests. Meanwhile, the Nylok Tarantula finds out about this and prepares to plot against Lauren. Meanwhile, Cthulhu and another Nylok Wisp appear. Cthulhu tells the Nylok Wisp to act as their distraction and use its ability. The Nylok Wisp sucks the life out of people when they are at their happiest. Kevin alerts Lauren, who leaves the party abruptly with Emily and Antonio to join their teammates and engage the Nylok Wisp, who summons Azazel to keep the Samurai Rangers occupied as he retreats. Lauren still senses the Nylok Wisp's presence as she and Emily still kept up with the charade. They leave for her dinner with a wealthy son. This news broke the hearts of many gold diggers, making the plan work very well. Emily feels uncomfortable that Lauren is acting as her maid and excuses herself. Lauren tells Emily it's fine, and Emily should be herself when she's around Lauren. For example, Kevin shows his attribute, not shying away from being who he is around Lauren, an overbearing and over-emotional samurai, but that's what makes him powerful with passion. Smitten with Emily's kindness and pure heart, Calcin is about to confess his feelings when the Nylok Wisp is revealed to be hiding in his jacket. The Nylok begins to suck the life out of him. Thinking quickly, Emily pretends to be extremely shallow, making sure that the wealthy son hears and sees her slapping and berating Lauren, telling her to save him so she could actually marry into money. Lauren quickly catches this on to Emily's ruse and plays along. Calcin is heartbroken. Severe life-sucking Nylok Wisp hold on him. The other Samurai Rangers arrive to offer assistance. The Samurai Yellow takes down Nylok Wisp before he is destroyed, while Megazord deals with Azazel. The Homaris Folding Zord and Tethuda Folding Zord combine into Homaris Zord, destroy the Nylok's second life. After the fight, Calcin thanks Emily for saving his life twice, and seeing that she deeply cares for Lauren, parts ways with her amicably. So maybe there is an implied message? I don't really read too much into Ranger romances. You do your own theory, like, this is how I feel when I see romances in Power Rangers since season 1 between Tommy and Kimberly. She sends the samurai to the Tengen Temple as they found the black box. Arriving at the Tengen Temple, the burial grounds of the Shiba house, the Samurai Rangers are given the black box after Lauren visits the tombstone of her father. The Tarantula Nylok that sneaked into the area, apparently, there was also many tombstones of powerful warriors who were mysteriously slaughtered in the previous century. They were slaughtered by an unnamed Ronin who used to be associated with the Shiba clan. Simultaneously, the Tarantula Nylok makes his move as Lauren has been poisoned by Cthulhu. While the vessels are overpowered by the Nylok, Cthulhu appears and offers Lauren the antidote if she reveals the sealing character to him. After attempting to get Deku to sample his sushi, Antonio arrives and fights Cthulhu, but loses to him. Cthulhu seems to have an extra giant grudge towards Antonio, saying how he will only be a lowly sushi ninja and will never be able to find the Mozosaurus disc. He will never be a true Samurai Ranger and will never be a samurai of the Shiba clan. Antonio writes the same symbol that he wrote previously onto the soul-lifting Nylok. After writing it on Cthulhu, he was able to produce a hex that cancelled out the draining power, rendering it useless. This explains what Cthulhu could do with the sealing symbol. He could learn how to nullify it and help Xandred. At the last second, Deker arrives and takes Lauren as he is shown his true form to Antonio. Antonio says he recognizes that form, and that is the legendary samurai armor, but it's corrupted. Before the Tarantula Nylok almost destroys the Rangers, back in Santa River, Xandred woke up. He drags the Tarantula Nylok back into his realm as he punishes it for acting behind his back. With poetic irony, Xandred made the Nylok Tarantula lose control from the excess amount of power given to him, and kicks him back into the human realm, causing rampage. Entrusted with the black box after Lauren gave it to one of the Tengen monks prior to Cthulhu's attack, Antonio has to complete the black box while the vessels have their wounds tended to. Back in the Santa River, Cthulhu gains Xandred's forgiveness as he explains it was to discover the sealing symbol power. Xandred gives Dayu the task of destroying Deker, while the Tarantula Nylok loses his mind from being consumed. He starts rampaging across the city. Meanwhile, Deker forcefully cures Lauren of Cthulhu's poison, revealing his reason so that he could fight Lauren at her full strength. From there, Deker reveals how he and Lauren are very much alike, acting outside of the norms of Bushido to further their personal goals. Lauren says she is nothing like Deker. Deker says he was once a Samurai Ranger and was also an outsider. Isn't that how Lauren feels? Deker knows the truth about her, and he was the real reason why G was so behemoth in training her. Lauren also asks what is the vow that ties her with Deker. Deker says it is the vow made by Lauren's mother. Also, the fire CGI within Lauren, it once belonged to him, but he passed it all into Lauren to the point he could no longer use CGI. Sneaking up on them, Dayu has successfully tracked the two, but for some reason, she couldn't bring herself to end Deker. She confronts and asks Deker if he remembers this type of sakura tree in the forest at all. Deker tells her to stop, and he has completely forgotten about his past when he became a Nylok. The next day, Antonio struggles in creating the black box. He is plagued by self-doubt from the words of Cthulhu. He also looked over the mountains over research paper and works, photos, to find the Mozosaurus disc, which reminds him of what Cthulhu said. He will never find it. Encouraging Antonio, the other Samurai Rangers gave them their CGI power stored in the folding Zord discs, showing their faith in them. They then head out to fight the out-of-control Nylok to give Antonio more time. It is just enough to allow him to complete it, retrieving Lauren and bringing her to the fight. Antonio bestowed his lord the black box. Lauren transforms and uses the black box to gain the battleizer Daimyo mode, slaying all the Azazoth company and the overpowered Nylok. When the Nylok resurrects into the giant with Azazoths, the Samurai Rangers use the black box and the new True Samurai combination disc to combine all the personal Zords together into Ultimate Samurai Megazord to take out the Azazoths. Lauren later returns to the Tengen Temple to visit the tombstone of the warriors slain by Deker. Thinking of Deker's words, what does he mean why G has trained her so behemothly? As Lauren prepares to duel with Deker, Xandred, furious with Dayu for not killing Deker, as he had commanded her to do so, set fire towards her beloved instrument when she was provoked him to kill her. A devastated Dayu flees into the human realm to search for the life force of ideal victims which could repair her damaged instrument. She runs into Mia, and the two battle until the Nylok hypnotist arrives. He has been tasked to bring Dayu back to the underworld. He puts Dayu into deep sleep, but when the Samurai Rangers arrive, Dayu escapes. Samurai Pink and Samurai Yellow gave chase. Antonio arrives, but the Nylok puts him to sleep, then uses him as a gateway to find Dayu's location. At the same time, Antonio found the Mozosaurus disc and is celebrated for being able to find it, finally becoming a Samurai Ranger. In his dreams, of course. This time, the Nylok succeeds in sending Dayu as well as Samurai Pink into the dream world. There we see Mia's past. Why Mia was so obsessed with cooking vegan food. It was for a boy she has a crush on, but he has never been interested in her. Snapping herself out of the dream, she entered Dayu's dream instead. Mia discovers Dayu's past. She was once a human woman. She's obsessed with Deker before he became a Nylok, the same Sakura forest as we have seen before. Dayu was a mage of the Shiba clan, in charge of building to the Taurus Zord, and was trying to create a stable warrior mode. Deker was the one of the Shiba vessels that joined in the earlier generation. Originally, Deker was a decoy for the Shiba Lord, and later became the Sixth Ranger. Deker's obsession with fighting was his downfall. Deker finishing off Azazoth did not quench his thirst. He continued his murder spree and committing atrocities, murdering innocents for not willing to participate in his duel. He then was expelled from the Shiba house after he started slaughtering and challenging duels when the Nylok threat was over. Reason why G feels iffy on Antonio joining, since Deker later became the Sixth Ranger after the secret was out. After being excommunicated, he stole the Shiba samurai armor from all the samurai rangers. With his corrupted state, he fused with his samurai armor and became almost like a skeletal demon. Dayu left her duties as she wanted to pursue Deker. She's still been a huge admirer of him after he committed all those atrocities. This led to the Taurus Zord to be completely unstable and unusable. It's sealed. Dayu tried to stop him, but his bloodlust continued and ignored her. Deker later started to develop an incurable disease and was dying. Dayu has been pursuing Deker all this time and wants to find a way to save him. No medicine was able to cure him though, thus she turns to dark magic to conjure Nylox to help. However, a portal opened and energy burned the house down. As Deker meets his end from the fire, he chooses to reach for a sword, ignoring his admirer. As her moment of desperation and despair, the Nylok King Serrator steps out of the portal. Dayu begs him to resurrect her loved one, but at the cost of both of them becoming Nyloks in exchange for their humanity. Both their humanity is trapped in the items they both carry of each other. When Deker was resurrected, he lost his memories except for his bloodlust, and continued seeking out worthy opponents to duel. In order for both to regain their humanity, Dayu will need to find a way to make Deker fall in love with her. She tried for centuries and nothing worked. Dayu, heartbroken, plays her harmonium in solitude until she was recruited by Xandred, where she finds a new purpose. Meanwhile, Samurai Blue and Samurai Green enter the dream world to bring the hypnotic Nylok back into the real world to awaken his victims and break his hold on them. Now that Mia knows her past, Dayu moves to kill her. Mia was immobilized by Dayu's traumatic past, so Emily jumps in to defend her and is injured. Cthulhu summons the giant Azazoths, so Samurai Red and Ninja Gold form the Homara Samurai Megazord to fight them. Though victorious, the two rangers are thoroughly exhausted from their battle. To make matters worse, Deker shows up and intent on fighting Lauren, right then and there, though Antonio attempts to reason with him. A company of Azazoth emerges, and Deker promptly slays them all before they can lay a hand on the humans, leaving Lauren time to heal, telling him that he'll go on a killing spree if Lauren doesn't fight him. Lauren then remembers Deker's slain civilians in the Tengen Temple, all the tombs, all the gravestones. He is not joking. Mia blames herself for hesitating to destroy Dayu. As Emily was injured, she threw away her cooking books. She saw this and asks why. Mia explains she needs to have resolve and the will to act. Her goal in the future is just a distraction. Mia sadly says the boy back home does not love her back. All this cooking vegan food was because she wants to gain his attention and affection. But after seeing Dayu's past, she has to let go of obsessing over this boy. Mia also asks G whether or not Shiba clan has ever used a decoy. G hesitates and confirms this. Mia wonders what happened. G explains another time would be better. After wounding Emily, Dayu takes her leave as the hypnotic Nala retreats during his fight with Samurai Blue and Samurai Green. While a debate occurs at the mansion over if Lauren should accept Deker's challenge or not, with Kevin the only one against it as he believes her lordship is too important for the stray Nylok. Lauren finally confronts G on what Deker told Lauren about her cursed existence. When she was poisoned before, she was rescued by Deker, who revealed to Lauren that her mother made a deal with him. During the fateful day when the Nylok invaded the Shiba mansion, Lauren and her mother were on the brink of death when collapsed burning pillars landed on them. But before Lauren's mother passed away, she called for a Nylok not associated with Xandred for help, and Deker answered. Lauren's mother asked Deker to save her daughter from the incoming Nylok. Deker brought Lauren to G's doorstep with a note. The message said Deker has cursed Lauren by filling her up with his own CGI firepower. Unless she is to be trained to be a powerful warrior to duel him by adulthood, she will be incinerated by the fire CGI he has casted into her. She was raised to duel Deker, so either way, G must train Lauren to defend herself from Deker or she will die a horrific death, being burned alive. Deker had an insatiable thirst to fight for decades. Therefore, Lauren has to fight or she will die from the curse. G also revealed that Deker has left out some important parts of the sword. Deker also cursed Lauren to become a Nalok when she lets go of her humanity, so he can fight her for eternity. But G trained Lauren's purpose for fighting is for humanity, as the descendant leader of the Shiba clan. But the moment Lauren gives into nihilism and lacks the purpose of fighting, that's when she will turn into a Nihilok. This revelation confused and shocked Lauren and her vessels. Kevin says Lauren is a fully fledged warrior and she will not suffer that terrible death, but still should not confront Deker for her own safety. Mia and Mike says if Deker doesn't have his duel, he might end up hurting civilians. Kevin suggests they confront Deker together, but Emily says if they all confront Deker, Deker must just leave and start killing civilians, until Lauren complies. Also, the powerful Nihilok hypnotist threat is still out there. Meanwhile, Deker talks with Dayu, striking a nerve as she decides to live with her suffering to maintain her existence. Because once half Nihiloks let go of the reason of why they became a Nihilok, they will cease to exist as well. The next day, with Kevin finally understanding her reasons, Lauren heads out to duel Deker when the Nihilok hypnotist resurfaces. Given the black box, Kevin leads the Samurai Rangers in battle before becoming Daimyo Blue to defeat the Nihiloks and use Samurai Megazord to destroy him. Meanwhile, Mike still hesitates to trust Kevin, which made the battle not as smooth as it could have been. Samurai Red and Deker begins their duel to the death. At first, the duel was like a training where Deker is the teacher and Lauren is the student. Similar to Darth Vader and Luke over the Bespin in Empire Strikes Back, Deker kept on telling Lauren to let go of her humanity and focus just on the sword clashes. Nothing else in the world matters. One's humanity means nothing, just the symphony of the blades. At first, Lauren did become a mindless combatant, but then glimpses of the Sanji River engulfs her vision. Lauren looks as if she was possessed by pure evil. Deker is delighted how Lauren is changing. But then, Lauren remembers how Kevin was entrusted with the responsibility of leading the samurai team. They await for her return. She then remembers all the time she has spent with fellow samurai rangers. Although the time was short, it's enough to drag Lauren back to humanity. Lauren was able to ignore Deker's way of the sword and focus on what she was fighting for, to return back to her newly formed family. Despite being grievously injured, Samurai Red prevails as Deker falls off the cliff. Defeated, Deker praised Lauren in the utmost disinterested manner. This was not the duel he has been looking for. Lauren is taken back home by the vessels to celebrate their victory and tend to her injuries. Before Mia approaches the rest of the Rangers, G returns the cooking books back to her. He says, "It is important to have resolve, but if one has no flexibility nor dreams to pursue, it's no different from being a Nihilok." Mike and Emily go to pick up some sushi from Antonio and tell him that Lauren is healing well from her fight against Deker. Meanwhile, Xandred was approached by a new Nihilok whose master would like to form an alliance with him. Xandred sends him out to prove his worth. This new Nihilok arrives and can transfer people's souls into inanimate objects, appearing to terrorize the city. Samurai Green and Samurai Yellow engage him and are later joined by their teammates. Afterwards, Mike and Emily discover that their teammates' souls has been imprisoned inside a cat statue, Lauren, a piece of sushi, Antonio, an electric fan, Mia, and a cheeky Figaro, Kevin. Back at the mansion, Emily was smiling, but she was shaking a lot while discussing the situation with G and Mike. Mike notices this and goofs off a bit by drawing on inanimate Lauren's face with whiskers, saying she is a cat now, which made Emily giggle. G was offended at first, but he later realized Mike only did it to calm Emily down. Faced with the task of figuring out how to undo the Nihilok's curse without killing him, Mike and Emily devise a risky strategy for their next encounter with Nihilok. They practice together overnight. On the next day, Samurai Green and Samurai Yellow successfully trick the Nihilok into switching bodies with Samurai Green and eventually force him to undo his curse. This comes just in the nick of time for Antonio, who, as a piece of sushi, was about to be eaten by a hungry cat. Using the black box, Daimyo Green and Samurai Yellow use Megazord to destroy the enlarged Nihilok. Afterwards, Antonio remains traumatized by his brush with death, and the king of the Nihilok emerges from the Xandred River. Because of the events of the previous chapter, Antonio has developed a paralyzing fear of sushi, rendering him unable to help his teammates. When they are battling the Azazoth, Antonio, with lack of trainer, gives up being a samurai, decides to create his own successor. He says perhaps his successor could find the Mosasaurus disc in his place instead. The other Samurai Rangers try to encourage Antonio to get past his phobia by each braving their own worst fears. Lauren faints again in the haunted house. Mia eats coriander, which she ends up being in bed for the rest of the day. Emily dips her hand in a jar full of big spiders, which left her hands covered in boils as she tries to smile as if it were nothing. Kevin was forced to look at modern art, which he collapsed, muttering, "How can this be considered as art?" Mike is locked in the library without internet for the entire day, which made him seem like a madman locked inside a mental hospital. Later, Xandred and Cthulhu receive a visit from Serrator, who offers his aid. He was the one who has been sending Nalock messengers to help Xandred. Xandred is not impressed, but when Xandred struck Serrator with his blade, Serrator did not move, pledging his unflinching loyalty to Xandred. Despite their efforts, Antonio quits the Samurai Rangers, promising to provide his team with a replacement. The Samurai Rangers deal with 2 Spitfangs before Serrator destroys the monsters, and personally test out the Samurai Rangers' fighting skills. Confused that the Samurai Rangers are weaker than their predecessors, Serrator intensifies the odds by creating a Kirigami, which Lauren battles in the Samurai Megazord, as the vessels are overpowered by Serrator. At the last second, Ninja Gold arrives with his newly created Gamma Lantern Zord to drive Serrator off, as he has struck the same place where Xandred struck, which created an unexpected weakness. Antonio enlarged the Lantern Zord to take out the Kirigami. As the Samurai Rangers celebrate, Antonio reveals that he had originally created the Gamma Lantern Zord to replace him on the team, and that he was about to quit when G gave him lunch while he was blindfolded. It started off with small bits of fish, then rice, then a few different trials, it was a piece of sushi. Upon realizing he was eating sushi again, it cured him of his phobia. Kevin points out that samurai never use lanterns, but it's used by Japanese secret police, causing Antonio to start bickering with a Zord called Gamma. Emily was confused by how the Zord is sentient. Mike revealed he helped Antonio earlier with CGI power of life. He gave the Zord a personality as well. Mike also learned more about the CGI powers from helping Antonio in building Gamma and the Homaris Folding Sword. Fire symbol is disintegration, water symbol is tranquility, earth symbol is construction, sky symbol is harmony, light symbol is activation. This is also parallel to each of the team members' personality, but he's still trying to understand his tree symbol, as it's not only giving life. Emily says Mike is intelligent and will solve this mystery of life CGI. Also, the reason why this Zord is called Gamma, because it's kind of like a comic relief. It's a throwback to Alpha from Season 1 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. You know, Alpha, Greek alphabet. In addition, Gamma is actually light radiation used in physics. So yeah, it makes sense. Xandred's headaches and angers are getting worse without Dayu's music, and the Fear Brew is not calming him down. Cthulhu heads to the human realm to look for Dayu, only spotting Serrator plotting against Xandred's forces. Serrator reveals to his followers that he allied himself with Xandred as part of his plans. Serrator hears Cthulhu and immediately attacks him. Serrator says Cthulhu is no different from him. Cthulhu is only using Xandred to further his plans and reminds Cthulhu's origins in becoming Nalock is known to him. Unfortunately, Cthulhu being no match against Serrator retreats. This triggers the gap sensor to detect Nalock movement. When the Samurai Ranger arrives to confront Serrator, Xandred also arrives at the same time. He is furious at Serrator's betrayal and attacks him relentlessly. The Rangers try to join into the fight, but Xandred is much more powerful with his hatred than the first time confronting Lauren. One blast from Xandred knocked all the Rangers out of morph. Xandred is dying from the process from rapid dehydration, so Serrator escapes Xandred's wrath. Daimyo Red summons the Fire Smasher Cannon Mode to attack Xandred, but the Nalock resists the attack long enough to defeat Daimyo Red. After repairing Dayu's shamisen, the nearly dead Xandred passes it to Dayu. The Rangers were forced to retreat. Out of nowhere, Serrator shows up and reviews Dayu's shamisen and says she has always been placed on his side to spy on him. Throughout all this time, the tune from the shamisen makes him susceptible to a curse. Serrator tells Xandred he will live as a human for the rest of his life with no memories as poetic justice. Xandred was transformed into a human by a spell with the tune that Dayu plays on her shamisen. Later, the Nalock Ninjutsu launches its attack against the samurai, but there are no match against his shadow clones. Antonio recognizes this Nalock's signature ninja abilities, but he himself is no match against it. While discussing with the group, Gamma and Antonio got into a fight. Gamma says, according to the Thunder Ninja Academy, a ninja needs to perform powers that alters the size or create duplicates of the user, kind of like the shadow clones, pointing out the fact that Antonio clearly failed. Then this leads to Gamma pointing out Antonio's imperfection, from ninja training all the way to Antonio being an incomplete ninja. A frustrated Gamma runs away, though Antonio expects him to come back. After failing almost every interview because he is a lantern, Gamma is found by Mia, who tries to talk some sense into him. But after he flies off upon refusing to accept Antonio's words about him, despite Antonio clearly misses Gamma, as he is a Gemini cricket to Antonio's Pinocchio. However, Mia is forced to join the others when the ninjutsu Nylok begins his attack with the team overwhelmed by the monster's shadow clones once more when Mike drops his phone, which activated a flashlight, which shunned the Nylok. The real ninjutsu Nylok is forced to fall back. The Samurai Rangers retreat to treat their wounds. Although Antonio tells Mia not to meddle in his affairs, Mia finds it depressed Gamma working at a fast food trailer for a girl called Myron. Mia then consoles him with the others watching nearby as Antonio arrives and apologizes to Gamma for not understanding. Gamma apologizes for being too blunt as well. The two were interrupted by Myron asking if the two would like to take a photo, as she sees it's adorable with their friendship healing. Antonio and Gamma first took the photo, but the night shadow covered their faces. Then Myron suggests Gamma to turn on its light to remove the shadows. That second picture was clear as day. Inspired, the two figured out a way to take out the Nylok shadow battle. The Samurai Rangers and Gamma confront Ninjutsu Nylok and take out all the clones with Gamma's light power. This light blast nullified all of the clones, weakening the real one. Samurai Pink transforms into Daimyo mode and finishes him off. The Samurai Megazord and Gamma battle the enlarged Nylok and overwhelm him with their teamwork before using the Tezuda Buster to destroy him. The next day, as they celebrate his return, though Gamma attempts to control his impulses, he gets into another fight with Antonio for not being honest with his feelings. After discovering the unconscious human Xandred on the beach, Myron takes him to a bed in her fast food trailer, watching over him. The man had a dream about a tiny weird-looking Nylok born from the rocks at the Sanji River. The Nylokling ended up in the human realm and saw some children drowning. The fear of children immediately attracted it, but he saved them from drowning. The villagers saw him and called him a monster, thought he was a threat to the children, and started attacking him. No matter how many good deeds he does, the tiny Azazel gets attacked. Then the man suddenly woke up. Myron asks if he's alright, as the man asks where he is, only for her to say that a doctor had looked him over and he has no injuries. The man asks who he is. Thank you, Riders and Rangers, for joining us in our episode of How to Fix Samurai Part 3. Alright, sorry for the long wait. Yeah, it took me forever to find a proper day to record, and yeah, the worst part about working on this would be the recording, and I'm so glad I'm able to do this. Looking forward to make more in the future. Also, if you have any comments, suggestions, please leave it down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a nice day.
Hello Riders and Rangers. Welcome to our next installment of How to Fix Samurai Part 4. For our recap for the previous 3 parts. The Samurai Ranger's source of powers derive from simple magic called calligraphy-generated innovation, CGI for short. Lauren is our season's Red Ranger. She's supposedly an overpowered flame-wielding warrior, yet she's burned by her own flames. Deker is a freelance Nylok with no aspiration but to duel. When the Shiba mansion was attacked decades ago during Xandred's invasion, Lauren's mother made a deal with the devil, begging him to rescue her daughter. This is a callback to Lightspeed Rescue. Deker answers her call and infuses his CGI flame powers to Lauren. Consider this a gift of life or a curse of damnation. The moment Lauren fails to live up to being a warrior, Deker CGI within her will incinerate her to death. When she lets go of humanity, she will become a Nylok like him, so the two can duel for eternity. However, Lauren has defeated Deker in a duel and he is no longer seen anywhere else. Is the curse of Deker gone? Our Blue Ranger of the season is Kevin. He claims to be Lauren's self-proclaimed right-hand man. He is a book-smart warrior who sticks to traditions. He kowtows to Lauren to the point which feels ingenious. Mike picks up on this after Antonio sensed Kevin's CGI of water matches Thulu's CGI power. Kevin and Thulu both shares the CGI power of water. This is disturbing as Thulu seemed to have way too much knowledge on the samurai and CGI. Mike is the Green Ranger who refused to become a samurai at first. But he is starting to learn and pick up the ways on the samurai as he becomes more attuned to the team. He helped Antonio build the Homura's Folding Zord and Light Zord Gamma. He is learning his CGI of Forest, which creates living Zords. He grew to respect Lauren as well. The Yellow Ranger, Emily, is starting to become stronger despite having replaced her older sister who has fallen ill. Emily is a new fighter who needs reassurances from Mia, the Pink Ranger of the season. Mia is the mother of the group and she supports the team. She also has a pseudo-rivalry with Dewa where both share a tragic love life. Dewa tries for centuries to have Deker fall in love with her but constantly fails. Mia has a crush on a boy, which is why she makes vegan food that she doesn't even like. She hopes that one day he will fall for her. The 6th ranger of the season is Antonio and is not a samurai in order to keep up with the tradition of a 5-man band for the samurai group. Antonio is the ninja of the team. He scouts out enemies by doing his regular job as a sushi maker. As his sidekick Gamma puts it, he is a Thunder Ninja Academy dropout. Antonio is trying his hardest to become a true samurai. In order to be one, he has to find the location of the legendary Mosasaurus disc in order to become Shiba clan samurai. Serator is the current boss villain during this arc. Serator has spent centuries to overthrow Xandred. He has placed Dewa by Xandred's place, after he has cursed her into being a Nylok. Every time Dewa strums the sad tune, Xandred becomes susceptible to it. As Serator has the powers of turning humans into Nyloks, he can turn Nyloks into humans. Eventually, Xandred was transformed into human after their last encounter. Xandred is living as a human without any memories as a Nylok. Alright, time to jump into this episode. Grab your calligraphones. Ready. Samurai, fortify. Or grab your sushi morpher. As Antonio calls it, lightning storm, shinobi form. In this episode called Corrida de Toros Part 1. Serator, having inspiration from the samurai folding zords based on the origami, he decides to make a monster of his own called Papyrix Prototype. But the proto was useless in battle and malfunctions. It was used as a test dummy by Azazoth's attacks, while it starts developing a childlike mind. Escaping to Earth, it finds itself in the middle of Dewa's walk. While following her, Proto was curious as Dewa was humming her shamisen tune. Back in the Shiba mansion, the Rangers return from a number of attacks in Ox Head Point. As the Rangers try to discover why, Antonio reveals it to be the site where CGI power came to be and also the birthplace of the original Zord with a warrior mode, the Taurus folding Zord. Kevin suspects the Nyloks are trying to control the inactive Zord, especially Thulu, who knows CGI could be able to wield it. Mike raises his eyebrows at how Kevin is able to come to that plausible conclusion so quickly. The Taurus folding Zord was incomplete over the years after the original creator abandoned it. It seems to have a curse, as many of those came before it tried to control the Zord and had bad luck. Even the creator, the shaman, fell in love with an evil Ronin and the two became Nyloks. Antonio's parents tried to tame it too. But Antonio's parents left as it was decided to be too powerful to control. The folding Zord was sealed away within the mountain. Mia recognized it to be made by Deo and was not too keen in suggesting to complete it despite Antonio's enthusiasm. While Antonio was studying to be a samurai, creating his Homora's Zord and Gamma, he studied his grandfather's blueprints for taming the Taurus folding Zord heavily, modeling his Zords after it. Antonio believes he can try to use his gifted CGI powers to resurrect it. Antonio wants to finish what his grandfather had started before his family became sushi makers. Also, this distracts him from not being able to find the Mosasaurus disc, which has been bothering him a lot. Antonio brought it up after mastering 2 Zords. He believes he will be the one who can control the Taurus folding Zord. As Proto was following Deu, it finally fell apart from the rain, which Deu noticed. After being repaired by Deu, who only claims that she fixed it because of a kinship on how she knows how it feels to be forsaken, she told Proto to go away. Proto attempts to win her love as its mother. He notices Deu holding a portrait of Deker in human form wielding the Uramasa katana. Back in the mansion, Antonio then presents to Lauren the disc that he believes can tame the Taurus folding Zord, but Gi turns him down as it's too risky, according to the track record of the Zord. Mia also said the Zord was tampered with by Deu, and she doesn't trust it. When the Nylok arrives to undo the Taurus folding Zord seal under Serator's orders, the Samurai Rangers arrive to fight him and the Azathoth. As the Nylok escapes, Antonio chases after him. When the two entered the Taurus Zord's cockpit, the seal was undone and the giant Azazoths attempt to capture it. Thus, Antonio uses the disc to activate the Zord, but when it was awakened, it went on a rampage, which knocked Antonio unconscious inside the Zord, and the Nylok general evacuated the cockpit. The Samurai Rangers use Samurai Megazord and Homora's Zord to strike the Azazoths down before attempting to restrain the Taurus folding Zord themselves. However, the Taurus folding Zord is too powerful for Samurai Megazord to withstand it, and the folding Zord charges away. While this occurs, Proto found a piece of Deker's katana Uramasa, but before it could give it to her, the Taurus folding Zord caused a huge landslide. Proto was damaged protecting Deu from that landslide. It plays Deu's harmonium tune before it crumples into pulp. Deu coldly walks away from Proto as she said, "My heart has already been broken centuries ago, this means nothing to me." Then Deu notices that it was carrying a piece of Deker's Uramasa and she takes it, looking at it longingly. Continuing to the second episode to this two-parter, Corrida de Toros Part 2. As the Taurus folding Zord continues its rampage, Deu prepares to throw the broken blade of Deker's Uramasa into the sea when Serator reveals that Deker is still alive and he wishes the former samurai to work for him. He promises to repair her shamisen and Deker's Uramasa in return. Later that night, Deu finally found a subconscious Deker. She nurses him back to health and relays Serrator's message to him. Meanwhile, after having no luck in capturing the Taurus Folding Zord, Emily suggests to Lauren and the others to reverse Antonio's fishing CGI, which was used to fish the Soul Lifter Nilok out of the Sunja River. Maybe this time, they can fish Antonio out of the Zord. But it failed as the symbol wasn't written on Antonio. As the Samurai Rangers are exhausted from trying, Gi gives Lauren a special secret disc to destroy the Taurus Folding Zord. It is the only way to save Antonio. Sending the others ahead of her, Lauren learns that Gi sees the Taurus Folding Zord to be responsible for the death of Antonio's mother while he was supervising the taming of the Zord. As Gi expresses his guilt that it is partly his fault that Antonio's mother died and now that her son is in trouble, Lauren tells him otherwise and returns the destruction disc to Gi. This also revealed why Gi did not want Antonio to join the Samurai Rangers. Gi does not want Antonio to die within his watch, as Antonio's mother did in his. Anything happening to Antonio would be on his conscience. On their way to find Antonio, the Samurai Rangers are ambushed by Nilok General and several Azathoth. The Nilok General enters the Taurus Folding Zord, which has been inactive again. Lauren joins the battle, and when both Deo and Deker arrive to hold the Samurai Rangers back, Samurai Red goes forward to find the Nilok monster ready to kill Antonio, exhausted from overusing CGI power from taming the Taurus Folding Zord while he was inside for the past few days. However, the Folding Zord begins its rampage again as Gi arrives at the cockpit and reveals that he too wished to control the Taurus Folding Zord in the past along with Antonio's parents. Gamma realizes there was an excess amount of power poured into the Zord. Together, the Lantern Zord, Antonio, and Gi absorb the excess CGI power that drives the Taurus Folding Zord wild before it destroys Ox Head Point. Lauren transforms into Daimyo Red and destroys the Nilok General, who has the intent to destroy the Taurus Folding Zord now that it cannot be under his control. Given the reins of the Taurus Folding Zord, Daimyo Red turns the Taurus Folding Zord into warrior mode, who slays the Nilok as Deker and Deo take their leave. Lauren and her vassals find Gi and a dehydrated Antonio, as they make their way home with this ancient Folding Zord joining their arsenal. Antonio apologizes to the rest of the team when he expects Gi to berate him. Gi tells him he shouldn't push himself too hard. He tells Antonio his mother would have been very proud of him. Mia also wonders if the Taurus Folding Zord could be redeemed. Is it possible that Deker and Deo could be too? At the beachside house, Miran worries about the transformed human Xandred as he still has recurring dreams about the tiny Azathoth getting attacked by humans after helping humanity. But the man tells her not to worry and that he's fine outside not having his memory. The girl says he was found not carrying anything, merely that he was found unconscious. He looks by his side and notices that she has many flowers and get well cards from her friends so that she could get better, making him realize that she is ill. Inspired, he decides to take Miran on a bike ride, which she had always wanted, and takes her to a seashore where she runs around in the ocean barefoot. She is happy since it had been a while since someone had taken her out, but she asks him if he remembers anything from doing these things. He doesn't, other than a feeling that he had something he needed to do that was important. This ensuing episode, named Parental Guidance, we learn more about Mia, who became a kindergarten teacher and training as a samurai to get over her crush back home. The Shiba home has a visitor, Mia's father, and husband of Mrs. Shiraishi, the previous Samurai Pink. Mr. Shiraishi asks Mia to quit the Samurai Rangers and move back to Hawaii with him. He tried to also bait her by saying the boy she has fallen in love with is probably waiting for her back home. He says children should stay by their parents' side. Before Mia can answer, the Samurai Rangers must head to Nine Dragon Pond to confront the Azathoth, who are attacking an elementary school and kidnapping children. In this, we see how much the Samurai Rangers have improved when compared to their first time fending off the Azathoth from the school in Mia's debut episode. During the melee, Samurai Pink manages to plant a gap sensor on a little boy before the Azathoth spirit him away. The Samurai Rangers learn more about Mia's childhood before Mr. Shiraishi again tries to convince Mia to quit the team and move to Hawaii. The Samurai Rangers soon learn that Serrator is holding the children in Oilfield Bay, where he intends to use them to help create dry riverbeds to receive the Sansa River in the mortal realm. He will emotionally torture all the children. An area absence of humanity with so much disparity will be flooded with Sansa River waters. Thulu states that's purely theoretical. So why is Thulu by Serrator's side? It's a temporary allegiance because Serrator threatened he will turn Thulu back to being a human. Thulu also wants to use this opportunity to spy on Serrator. One of the children escapes, chased by a group of Azathoth. Mia rescues the boy, but is injured in the process. Samurai Red, Samurai Blue, and Samurai Green arrive to fight the Nilok while Ninja Gold and Samurai Yellow help the children to safety. Serrator easily beats the 5 Samurai Rangers by himself. Mia wants to join the battle, but Mr. Shiraishi is reluctant to let her. When Mia berates him for not understanding other parents' suffering, Mr. Shiraishi tells her exactly. He is reluctant because it puts him on the edge knowing his baby girl is always in the front line, risking her life, same as Mia's mother. Mia demands to know why he and his mother left Aroma City Port years ago, leaving Mia in the care of her grandmother. Mr. Shirashi said he couldn't stop Mia's grandmother for wanting her to fulfill her familial duties in becoming a samurai. Mr. Shirashi wants to give her a choice to decide in giving up being a samurai after Mia has grown up. Mia firmly tells her father that she won't quit the Samurai Rangers and bears no grudge against her parents before she transforms and slays the Azazoth present and, after becoming Daimyo Pink, defeats Serator. Enraged, Serator summons a Kirigami with an army of Mega Azazoth and a pair of Mega no Sakameda. Daimyo Pink, piloting Samurai Megazord, rides aboard Taurus Folding Zord to defeat the Azazoth, and Homurus Zord joins Samurai Megazord and Taurus Warrior mode to destroy the Kirigami and the Mega no Sakameda. Afterwards, Mr. Shirashi reunites Mia with her mother and daughter embrace. Mrs. Shirashi explains that her mind and body was in a poor state after her last battle. Growing up seeing her in this state might turn Mia away from becoming a samurai. After years of psychological and physical therapy, she is ready to face her daughter again. The reason why Mrs. Shirashi left without saying a word back then was because her mother couldn't bear seeing her go. She doesn't want to see her daughter end up like her, being paraplegic. She is ashamed that she was unable to take down Master Xandred. Now her daughter needs to clean up after her mess. Mia tries to comfort her and said it was never her fault. It was nobody's fault. Mrs. Shirashi did her duty and sent the Nilox back to the Sunja River. She finally resolves to let go of the past before Mr. and Mrs. Shirashi bid Mia goodbye and return to Hawaii. Emily asks Mia more about this special boy Mia is interested in. Mia says she uses her samurai duty to try and will wait until she is ready to approach him. In the subsequent episode Ultra Samurai Combination, Antonio points out the possible yet risky combination of their Folding Zord with the Taurus Folding Zord. He also says he is on the warm trail in finding the Mosasaurus disc. Kevin visits his old Shakespearean drama theater, reminiscing about his life before becoming a samurai ranger. On his way back to the Shiba house, he comes across the Nilok and Azazoth terrorizing people and eating everything in sight. When he tries to transform, his calligraphone is eaten, leaving him to watch his comrades fight the Nilok and get overpowered before the Nilok takes his leave. Mike and Kevin got into a fight, fearing Kevin might be up to something traitorous. Kevin apologizes for losing his anger. Mia explains to Mike that Kevin might be missing his life as a theater actor and wants to return to it. Without his calligraphone, Kevin goes back to the Shakespearean drama theater to watch his friend Kendrick practice for an upcoming performance that both were supposed to perform together until Kevin became a samurai ranger. The next day, Nilok Gastric resumes his feeding frenzy as the samurai rangers arrive to face him and attempt to regain Kevin's calligraphone. However, Deker and Dae arrive to prevent the samurai rangers from defeating Nilok Gastric, allowing the Nilok to eat even more. Elsewhere, Kevin, in disguise, for the 12th night scene which has a dance in it, approaches Kendrick to inspire him to perfect the dance, and to make amends for leaving the show without a word. His friend recognizes him and tells Kevin he awaits for his return. Kevin quietly leaves as he approaches to fight the Niloks. Having succeeded, Kevin joins the others as Deker and Dae destroy Nilok Gastric themselves to unleash his full power, with Samurai Red barely retrieving Kevin's calligraphone before the Nilok grows to immense proportions and gains a shield to defend and attack with. Thulu finally encounters Kevin again. Thulu asks if Kevin will finally greet him and call him Grand Uncle. The other rangers were bewildered. Kevin hangs his head in shame. Thulu tries to use mind control on Kevin but he was able to snap out of it. Lauren's CGI power is still active in Kevin's body which nullifies Thulu's mind control. Kevin straight up attacks Thulu while he taunts, "Are you going to attack your own blood?" Samurai Red uses the black box to form Homura Samurai Megazord, but they cannot break through Nilok Gastric's shield. Samurai Blue uses this opportunity to convince Samurai Red to take out the All-Ultra Samurai Disc and combine all of the Folding Zord, but first he needs the black box. Mike thinks it's a trap but with Kevin's urgency, Lauren throws the black box while Kevin is locked in blades with Thulu and transforms into Daimyo mode. As the secret disc is placed into the black box, Samurai Blue activates the disc, stealing Thulu's CGI power, allowing all of the Folding Zord to combine into Samurai Megazord. With their newfound power, the Samurai Rangers break through Nilok Gastric's wall-like shield and destroy him. Suddenly stealing Thulu's water CGI left him exhausted, he retreated with the sudden decrease of power. After the battle, Kevin watches Kendrick prepare for the Shakespearean drama performance and he intends to keep a vow to his friend that he will return to Shakespearean drama once the Nilok are finally defeated. Back in the Sansa River, Serator demands to know why did Thulu showed up to mess their plan. Thulu says it was to throw the Rangers off. But Serator knows that Thulu deliberately showed up to sabotage his plans and transfer his CGI powers to the Blue Ranger. Thus, Serator hijacked Thulu with the mind control attack which Thulu ironically has used on Kevin. When the Rangers were back, Kevin reveals why his family has been so behemoth in showing his loyalty to the Shiba clan and why becoming a samurai is so important. He revealed that Thulu was his grand uncle, he was the second-born child of his family, not destined to be the Blue Samurai Ranger. This upset his uncle a lot as he himself saw how he's more worthy being the samurai ranger than everyone else. This resentment to the rejection turns into obsession. In time, he is obsessed with power and has a desire to combine Nylok powers with samurai powers. His goal is to take over the Shiba clan. When he tried to rebel, he was taken down by Kevin's grandfather. But he has been stealing Shiba secrets while working as an informant for the samurai rangers for decades, thus why he knows so much about the Shiba clan. Hence, his grand-uncle decides to join the Nylok for more power, in hopes to take over the Shiba clan after destroying them. He cast his humanity aside and secretly became Thulu, which was kept as the Samurai Blue family's history of shame. This also explains why Kevin was so easily susceptible to mind control by Thulu, because they are related by blood. The Rangers originally felt uneasy about this, but Lauren says she has never doubted Kevin once. Thulu wants this revelation to break the Samurai Rangers apart, but this will not happen. However, Mike is still having doubts. In the succeeding episode, Sticky Situation, at night, Mirren is with the human Xandred. The two are stargazing. Her eye catches a shooting star, stating that if you wish upon it, the wish will come true. The girl states she only has one wish, for the return of his memory. Xandred stares at Mirren as she completes the wish, confused why she would care about a total stranger. Returning to the house, she had fallen unconscious where the doctor states things aren't looking well for her and that Mirren only has 6 months to live even with modern medicine due to all shipments being delayed from the Nylok attacks. Back at the beach house, Xandred wonders why Mirren made a wish for him as opposed to curing her own sickness. As she regains consciousness, he wonders why she wished for him instead of herself, and she states that her own wish probably won't come true. The human Xandred asks for Mirren to live, but she falls unconscious once again. Clutching her hand, Xandred emits an energy that covers her body. At the same time, Mirren has made a miraculous recovery and plays badminton with the human Xandred. The doctor is surprised that Mirren is completely well, as if a miracle. Meanwhile, Antonio struggles to stay true to himself as his curry is an absolute hit even though his aspiration is to be a sushi maker. There are even investors and he went on many covers on many popular cooking magazines. Antonio thinks about the proposal, which causes Emily to feel guilty as she was the one who asked him to make curry rice for her. The next day, Emily apologizes to Antonio for mentioning curry in the first place, and the two talk about Antonio's dream to have his own sushi restaurant. Emily asks for sushi and Antonio creates it for her. Sadly, Emily says it doesn't taste as good as before. Antonio tries it himself and realizes the sushi has been contaminated with curry powder. The businessman returns with the plans for the restaurant, which would sell only curry. Antonio firmly rejects the offer. At the same time, Kevin and Mike get glued together by an enemy Nylok and learn how to work together up close, although there were many arguments. Lauren gives Emily permission to look over Mike and Kevin to distract her from giving Antonio a life crisis. At first, the pair glued together were dismissive of her. So, Emily switched gears. With Emily's strictness and militant-like attitude, that aided the two to finally come together and have a heart-to-heart while hiding away from Drill Sergeant Emily. Mike also reveals he distrusts Mike because of his over-the-top servitude to Lauren seems phony and Thulu's origins does not help with Kevin's genuineness. Kevin doesn't argue, he states he is still guilty for being mind-controlled by Thulu, which gives off a bad impression for the rest of the team, that's why he has to overcompensate. Kevin tells Mike that even though his obedience to Lauren may be over the top, he does have his own thoughts and Lauren's actions have won him over. Kevin will not blindly follow any lord, but loyalty to Lauren herself. The two also shared insecurities, Mike fearing he will never live up to the Green Samurai title and Kevin fearing he will never be able to clear his family name. After a few attempts to cut the glue off, the Samurai Rangers realize that defeating the Sticky Nylok is the only way to separate Kevin and Mike. Though the two men attempt to prove that they are able to fight in light of the literal sticky situation, they are told to stay behind. While Kevin and Mike eventually get along, the others train to deflect Sticky Nylok's glue until the Nylok returns to glue every person he comes across to something or to each other. Following the others, Kevin and Mike watch their teammates fall into Sticky Nylok's trap, except Emily. With Kevin following Mike, the two transforms and enters the battlefield to face. The two taunts the Sticky Nylok and said, "Now, count up your sins." While the three were locked in battle, Emily enters using Daimyo mode and slays the Nylok. Once the Nylok is destroyed, the glue between Mike and Kevin is gone. Taurus Zord and Taurus Warrior mode arrive to hold back Sticky Nylok with Gamma support before they destroy him. After the battle, Antonio posts no more curry signs on his sushi cart, losing all of his new customers, to return to his true passion, making sushi. Antonio thanks Emily for showing him what he truly wants. Sometimes Emily may not see it, but her naivete actually helps others see the bigger picture. Kevin and Mike have become very much in sync during the meal. Following the next episode called Day Off, Lauren tells his vassals that Gi will be leaving them for his yearly day off to visit the resting place of his wife and visit his daughter and granddaughter. But because the fight with the Nylok has gotten worse, Gi may not take his day off. Deciding to make sure Gi will take the only holiday for the year, the Samurai Rangers replace the real gap sensor with a fake so Gi can enjoy himself. The next day, the Nylok gunner appears with his gun squad for target practice as the Samurai Rangers arrive to fight them. Fuller reveals he has mass-produced the firearm that was used by a Nylok in the beginning of the season and has chosen this Nylok to train a batch of Nyloks ever since. Managing to drive the Nylok back, after getting Gi to leave, the Samurai Rangers carry out Gi's daily responsibilities until Gunner resumes his target practice. The Samurai Rangers use their speed to get close enough to the Azazoth to take them out until Ninja Gold gets gunned down by the Azazoth reinforcements who overwhelm the rest of the team. At the last second, Gi arrives with the Bullzoica bazooka which Daimyo Red uses to turn the tables, revealing that he knew of their attempt to give him a worry-free day off. Upgrading it to the Daimyo Bullzoica bazooka, Daimyo Red destroys Gunner and orders Ninja Gold to leave. He has a side mission. When the Nylok revives, Taurus Warrior Mode and Samurai Gamma fight him and his cannon-wielding Mega Azazoth. After enlarging the Bullzoica bazooka, Taurus Warrior Mode dispatches the Mega Azazoth before finally destroying Gunner. Later, Antonio brings Gi to see his daughter and her family, as it was Lauren's intention during the Zord battle. In the Sansa River, Fulu states that every one of Serator's plan has been foiled by the Samurai Rangers but it raised the water levels by a bit. Serator laughs and says all his plans are a parts of an endgame. Enter episode Value of Life. Mirin falls down as she's falling ill again. The human Xandred tells her to not overdo it, but she states she feels great and that he has incredible powers that has been emitting out of him. Without his memories, Mirin guessed that he lived an amazing life in the past, which is why fate in the stars would give him such special powers which miraculously has been healing her over time. Quieted by the comment, the two embrace with Xandred stating he doesn't care about the past anymore. Not even about the dreams and nightmares he has been having where the tiny Azaoth was embedded with so much anger and hatred in the Sunja River. They decide to head to Solitaire Island to lift Mirin's spirits up. After learning of possible Nylok activity on Solitaire Island, the Samurai Rangers travel to investigate. After splitting up into three groups, Lauren, and Mia and Antonio and Mike are ambushed by villagers driven insane by Serator's magic. Kevin and Emily encounter a young boy who tells them of an ash causing an illness amongst the villagers, making them paranoid and bloodthirsty. When the two go to warn the others, they are ambushed by Deo and are knocked out. The human Xandred and Mirin both were not affected by the ashes because Xandred isn't a true human and Mirin is affected by Xandred's Nylok energy. The human Xandred felt so helpless trying to protect Mirin from the people turned insane by the ashes by hiding. Elsewhere, Serator ambushes Antonio and Mike, placing them under the influence of the ash that he has created, and Deker attacks Samurai Red and Pink. In the duel between Lauren and Deker, Deker noted Lauren has become weaker upon. It feels like she is no longer giving Deker all she's got. She has attachments and lost her determination in the battle. It felt like she would be fine to retreat at any time, valuing her life. This comment distracts Lauren and allows Deker to injure her. Mia came in just in time to take her out of the battle and into safety. On the other side of the island, after having a number of people attacking them, the human Xandred wants to stop this madness. He wants to find the source of it with Mirin reluctantly following him, hoping to hold him back from getting himself hurt. Still angered, Lauren runs off to fight Deker, again, with Mia. They arrive at a mountain guarded by Deker and Deo that is producing the ash infecting the village. While Mia fights Deo as Samurai Pink, Lauren transforms into Daimyo Red to fight Deker but is still no match, proving Deker was right. In their previous duel, Lauren was evenly matched with Deker, now she isn't on the same level despite using a power-up. When Samurai Red dropped her Bullzoica, the human Xandred rushes up, grabs the Bullzoica and shot it at the source of the insanity-inducing altar. He freed the island from the ash's influence. After Serator's hold on the island was gone, Serator retreats with Deker and Deo, leaving Kirigami and a pair of mega monsters to keep the Samurai Rangers at bay. Samurai Yellow tends to Lauren's wounds, leaving Kevin using Daimyo mode in Homura Samurai Megazord and Ninja Gold in Taurus Warrior mode to defeat the Mega Azazoth. Mirin tends the human Xandred's wounds, and asked how did Xandred know the altar was causing all this trouble. He said it was intuition. Will Xandred return as the redeemed master of Nyloks? The group forms Homura Samurai Megazord to fight the monsters and to destroy the Mega Monster and the Kirigami. Having freed the island, the Samurai Rangers head back home, with Deker's words still burning in Lauren's mind as Mia keeps a worried eye on her lord. Will Lauren's growing obsession with defeating Deker would end in disaster, just like Mia's personal obsession with her crush that ended poorly? Onward to episode The Master's Return. While training, Lauren almost hurts Mike while remembering Deker's words from their last encounter. Meanwhile over Mirin's house, Thulu finds the human Xandred and says finally his dream hex worked, which helps Thulu track him down. This encounter freaked the human Xandred out obviously. He thought he was getting ambushed, but Thulu calms him down. Thulu says he is fighting his hardest against Serator's mind control to do this. If Xandred doesn't accept Thulu's magic, he may never be able to do it again. The human Xandred finally accepts the incantation and Thulu restores Xandred's memories. We see the conclusion to Xandred's nightmares. When Xandred was just a weak Azazoth, his distaste towards humans grew as he spent a longer time living in the human realm. Misjudged and ostracized for just his appearance, Xandred's abhorrence towards the humans and feeding off humans' negative emotion made him evolve into something terrifying but also headache-inducing. After centuries of hatred, he finally came to wage war on humanity and fought against the 17th Shiba clan. This realization made the human male that he was tricked into becoming a human made him angry. He started putting all the parts of his shattered memories together. Thulu mindlessly returns to the crevice as the human Xandred ran out of Miran's house. Miran, noticing Xandred has left, she ran after him. At the same time, Deo confronted Serator about her shamisen, but he finally reveals he has no intention of fixing it but to make the soul of Deker in it suffer. This led to Deo attacking him. Serator's entrance into the human world triggered a gap sensor, which alerted the Samurai Rangers to their location. The Samurai Rangers continue to have a hard time fighting Serator but are no match. Serator's attacks send the Rangers flying. Then, Xandred as a human arrives, kicking the Nylok King to the ground as Miran watches, fearing for his safety. With his pure unadulterated wrath, Xandred returns to his true form and attacks Serator as Miran screams with fear. Serator is surprised by Xandred's return. The two fought and the two are in a stalemate. We can see if Xandred is fully recovered, Serator would not have gotten a chance as Xandred is starting to dry up slowly. The Samurai Rangers recovered and arrived to see the two fighting. Xandred grabs Serator and tells the Samurai Rangers to strike Serator's headwear, which is his weak point. Each ranger uses their respective weapons and aims it at Serator's headwear. Kevin uses his hydrobow, Lauren uses her fire smasher cannon mode, Emily throws her earth slicer, Mike lounges at Serator's head with his forest spear, and Antonio uses gamma to shoot discs. All their attacks were amplified by Mia, who uses her sky fan. This knocks Serator off his feet and he retreats immediately. The Rangers then attack Xandred, but they were no match. Not even Lauren in daimyo mode, and she took a heavy hit trying to defend her fallen comrades. Xandred, still readjusting back to his Nylok form, retreats. On his way to a deep crevice, he meets Miran, who asks him to come home with her and be human again. Miran states that Xandred is not someone made to fight and that he is a kind person. Briefly, Xandred closes his eyes and reflects on Miran's words. There was a small flashback of the good deeds Xandred as a young Azazoth has done, but then reopens them and yells that her accusation of gentleness, love, and care is ridiculous and such foolish actions will only make him weak. And in his memories, all the consequences of his good deeds were repaid with pain. But this lesson of becoming a human has taught him to be merciful. Miran cries in agony seeing the man she has fallen in love with was gone. Xandred thought his purpose was to wipe out humanity because he hates them. But he realizes he is wrong and he wants to liberate humans from this lamentation. He has experienced 1,000 lifetimes of pain and suffering as he is created by the embodiment of rage and anguish. His life as a human reinforced having humanity is the bane of humans' existence. If humans are always in pain and suffering, he will mercifully end it all. By wiping out all humans, they will no longer suffer those emotions. Alighting his sword, Xandred reabsorbs the energy he has healed Miran with before, killing her instantly. After her departure, he said that humanity will be cured and thus will cure centuries of his pain. As he is starting to dry up, he returns back to the Sunja River.
Hello Riders and Rangers, welcome to How to Fix Samurai Part 5. Let's have a quick recap of what happened previously. Lauren is the Samurai Red Ranger and Lord of the Shiba Clan. The Shiba Clan has been fighting Nylok monsters for centuries, using the calligraphy generator innovation symbol power, CGI for short. Lauren has been marked by Deker to duel with him for eternity. Kevin is the Samurai Blue Ranger and is self-proclaimed second hand of Lauren. He is the great-grandnephew of Octaru, who has a grudge towards the Samurai Rangers, because he was unable to be one. Kevin is trying his best to clear his family's name, that's why he is so subservient to Lauren. Mia is the Samurai Pink and the mother of the team. She has a pseudo-rivalry with Dayu, where both share tragic love backstories. Dayu is in love with Deker before both of them became Nyloks, but Deker never showed any affection towards her back. Mia is in love with a boy back home, but he has never shown any interest to her in return. She tries to gain his affection by cooking vegan foods that she pretends to enjoy. Mike is the Samurai Green of the team, and he has no interest to become a samurai to begin with, but later got inspired by his father, the previous Samurai Green, and Lauren, vowing to surpass Lauren in power someday. He also helped Antonio to produce certain Zords, since his powers could create life. Emily is a Samurai Yellow Ranger, youngest and the least experienced fighter. She fears being her older sister's replacement. She will never be as good as her sister, nor any of her teammates. Antonio is the Ninja Gold of this team from the Thunder Ninja Academy. Since traditionally there can only be 5 samurai, he still aids the team officially, but as a ninja instead of a proper samurai. However, if he is able to find the founder of the Shiba clan's Mosasaurus disc, he'll be granted the rank of samurai. With that being said, let's dive into it. Grab your calligraphones. Samurai Fortify. After ending Myron's life, Xandred finds Dai and fixes her harmonium. He then retreats to the Sanju River. After surviving Xandred's attack, and realizing the sealing character's importance, the Samurai Rangers wonder how to deal with him and Serrator. While looking over Lauren's condition and knowing that something is wrong, Emily receives a letter from her sister. Knowing the team is outclassed by Xandred's growing powers, Emily now has doubts on her abilities and feels like she's being a burden to the team, especially after hearing what Antonio said, who pondered loudly what it would have been like if Emily's sister became the current Samurai Yellow. Mike tells him to shut it and find the Mosasaurus disc. Antonio says he has been working to create his own Mosasaurus disc, which should be as good as the original, but the replacement disc would shatter immediately after its first few usages. Emily isn't sure if it's an analogy of her being her sister's replacement, where she would shatter soon. Meanwhile, the Nylok Beelzebub arrives, attacking people, inducing an insatiable appetite in those hit by a sand. After fighting the Azazoth Small Fries, Samurai Yellow rushes into battle with the Nylok by herself, losing teamwork. Samurai Blue and Pink dives in before Beelzebub shoots sand at Samurai Yellow. Samurai Green and Ninja Gold rushes to Emily's aid and strikes the Beelzebub, but the two were hit by the sandblast too. The 4 Samurai Rangers ended up having a psychotic gluttonous breakdown. Antonio's so hungry that he tries to eat Gamma as well. Nylok Beelzebub temporarily retreats as he's starting to dry up. Later that night, after the others were restrained because of their insane appetite, Emily blames herself for her impulsiveness, which broke up the team formation. G tells her not to feel guilty because she would have done the same thing and covered for others if they had the same fault too. Lauren wakes up and overhears Emily talking to G. Emily feels spoiled and cradled by everyone else. She feels like she's holding the team back. She also feels like Lauren has been acting strange and there's something wrong. She knows Mia figured it out, the reason behind Lauren's strange behavior, but wouldn't tell her. Mia is protecting her from that information. If it were Emily's sister, Emily believes Mia would have told her immediately. She'll have to work harder to gain everyone's recognition. These words somehow inspired Lauren. She asks where is all this coming from? Emily passes her sister's letter to G and quietly leaves the room. The next day, Beelzebub resumes his mission as Lauren heads off on her own. After G said he read the letter and explains to Emily her sister never once mentioned she is just a substitute. In fact, her sister sees Emily as her own samurai warrior and is encouraging her to be the true Samurai Yellow. Finding her resolve to be the one and only Samurai Yellow of this generation, Emily arrives to aid Samurai Red, who was no match against the Beelzebub on her own. She's still midway in recovery from the fight against Xandred. Unable to use the black box due to her condition, Lauren passes the black box to Emily as she arrives to aid her. She transforms into Daimyo Yellow and slays Beelzebub. This releases everyone from their insane hunger. After Beelzebub enlarges, although not strong enough to create the Samurai Megazord, Daimyo Yellow uses the 8-folding Zord to hold him off. The other Samurai Rangers arrives in time, and together they form the Samurai Megazord. Soon after, Emily accepts her role as Samurai Yellow, and because of her, Lauren starts opening up again to the others. After G notices that the places that Serrator attacked Power all form the kanji, which means control, Lauren becomes concerned as she and the others go through the Shiba archives for any clues about this. This part shows the Shiba samurai knows how to read kanji except Antonio, who only knows how to write kanji for ninjutsu or seafood. He's impressed that Mike knows it as well. Mike just says he only uses it for Japanese video games. Feeling discouraged by his lack of knowledge in kanji, Antonio returns to a sushi cart and tries to make himself useful by finishing his replica of the Mosasaurus disc. Then G alerts Antonio to spawn some Nylok tremors in North Neighbor Villa. Antonio says he can also pick up a Christmas tree while he is there. On the other side of the city port, Antonio arrives and sees Serrator. Serrator gives the Nylok Pestilox the means to create the final marker. By then, Cthulhu realizes Serrator's goal, which he calls a Sabbath. He snaps out of Serrator's mind control and attempts to reason with him, as this spell would cause chaos because of the huge surge of Nihilok population. Antonio overhears this and was in shock. Cthulhu also asked, how is Serrator so confident that he could control all the Nihiloks? Serrator shows no fear as he reveals that Deker is part of his important tool in this plan. Since he is soaked in the powers of the Shiba CGI armor, stolen from the Shiba clan before, that will be the source of energy to amplify a spell. With Cthulhu by his side, Cthulhu will be the one activating the CGI. Also, Serrator has been collecting the CGI energies from the Rangers during each battle, which could charge up Cthulhu. Antonio uses his calligraphone and calls the others, and tells them about what he has witnessed. Mike says the kanji only controls Nihilok specifically. Kevin says there seems to be more to it, as Serrator's ambition isn't just to control Nihiloks. Mai ponders if Serrator is able to transform Dayu and Deker from humans into Nihiloks as well. Isn't it possible that Serrator would turn all humans into Nihiloks and become part of his singularity? With this realization, Antonio is determined to complete the Mosasaurus disc replica. Following Nihilok Pestilox, Antonio reports to the rest of the team that the monster of the week makes people suffer with his pain-inducing incense. He fights the Nihiloks until the others arrive and fight off the Zazoth. Serrator arrives as Daimyo charges at him. Serrator holds the Rangers off while sending Pestilox to continue attacking civilians. The boys were barely on par against Serrator, but tells the girls to pursue Pestilox before any more innocents are harmed. As the Rangers slay Pestilox, the other Rangers arrive to form their Samurai Megazord to fight the second life of the Nihilok. As Serrator enjoys the show between the two titans, an annoyed Deker shows up to demand his Uramasa from Serrator, with Antonio hot on his trail. Antonio overhears more of Serrator's plans, which reveal that he will be unleashing a powerful wave of mind control dominance over all Nihilok beings under one mind, Serrator's. Part of his plan includes conjuring the Sabbath. It is to send all humans across the world into true deep suffering. Most painful memories of the humans will be replayed in their minds once the Sabbath has been casted. To get rid of this pain, humans will have no choice but to give up their humanity and become Nihiloks. This wave is created by invoking the ancient spell that only a person like Deker, a Nihilok soaked with CGI powers, can complete. Though Deker is reluctant at first, Serrator reveals that Uramasa is made from the soul who loves him and could restore his memories. Only when the sword serves its purpose, then that soul will be freed. Serrator tells Deker to think about it and leaves. The samurai focus their attack on the Nihilok general. Without warning, a massive explosion was caused from the excessive CGI power collected by Serrator, destroyed the Nihilok monster, and disabled the Samurai Megazord temporarily, sending each ranger flying across the city. It wounded the rangers and Deker with Dayu barely escaping. Serrator makes his way to the center of the city to complete the single hive mind unity of the sole ruler of all there is in Aroma City Port. Once he is conscious from the CGI shockwaves, Antonio sees an unconscious Deker and is conflicted if he should kill an unarmed enemy to stop Serrator, which would also ensure Lauren's safety. However, he changes his mind upon remembering that the soul of Deker's loved one is sealed in the Uramasa blade. Only Deker could free that innocent woman's soul. He remembered what Mia told him. The soul of Dayu is trapped within that sword. At the Shiba house, after Lauren suggests that slaying Deker is the only way, Antonio reveals his actions to them before he takes his leave. Kevin and Mia are disappointed at Antonio's lack of will to act. Mike and Emily understands it because if Antonio slays the fainted Deker, it is against the Shiba code. The next day, the Samurai Rangers learn that Antonio went out to track down Deker, and Kevin and Mike are going after him as the others face Serrator. Confronting Deker yet not intending to harm him, Antonio pleads with them not to take back the Uramasa and do not commit the Sabbath. However, as Deker tries to kill him for pleasure, Kevin and Mike comes to defend Antonio, chasing after Deker as he regains the Uramasa from Serrator. In the city center, the regrouped Samurai Rangers are unable to stop Deker with Serrator holding the Samurai Rangers back. But at the last second, Deker strikes down Serrator instead of the final marker. Serrator is shocked as Deker reveals that he knew the sword's nature the entire time, and he thanks Serrator for repairing it. Deker just didn't care about love, the soul, nor his memories. He's only interested in fighting, living in the prison, and enjoy the pleasures of slaughtering worthy swordsmen. Deker leaves the mortally wounded Serrator as he begs Cthulhu to heal him with the CGI. With Zord weakened, Cthulhu being freed of the mind control quickly, he leaves, telling the Rangers to aim at Zorator's headwear, which is his weak spot. Realizing his impending doom and the Sabbath is ruined, the dying Zorator takes his rage on the Samurai Rangers. With Zorator weakened, the Samurai Rangers were able to fight him on the same level as this ancient beast. They slay him with the Fire Smasher and the Bazooka aimed at his headwear as suggested by Cthulhu, and also by Xandred a few episodes ago. Zorator enlarges and battles the Megazords. Zorator also summons the Kirigami warriors, but those were easily destroyed. The Samurai Rangers try to finish off Zorator, only for the CGI final attack to have no effect against him. Cthulhu watches the two giants battle it out against each other. On Ninja Gold's suggestion, Daimyo Red summons the Mosasaurus Folding Zord from the replica disc of Ninja Gold. But their powers are not strong enough to support the Mosasaurus Folding Zord with this replica. Cthulhu, sensing the Rangers are in trouble, shares his CGI powers to the Rangers, hoping Zorator to be destroyed. With the sudden boost of energy, Samurai Megazord uses the Mosasaurus Katana to destroy Zorator. After the battle, Antonio now knows the true nature of the Nihilok, and he should not hesitate, but Lauren tells Antonio he did the right thing for not killing Deker. There is always another way. Unfortunately, Antonio's Mosasaurus disc replica crumbles after the battle. Kevin suggests that the original disc is still out there. They wonder where the sudden burst of energy came from. When they all return to the Shiba house to find G and the caretakers in the middle of decorating for Christmas, they help with the finishing touches. Antonio also arrives with the Christmas tree he got from the North Neighbor Villa. At the Shiba house, everyone gathers for a Christmas party, the first lively one in years. But while G provides calligraphy pens as Christmas gifts, he sees a strange Shiba caretaker with a letter bearing the Shiba house crest. As the others do their calligraphy art, Lauren reads the letter and tells G that they will continue as planned and that she will handle the consequences when the time comes. Meanwhile, at the deserted Rokumo junk, Cthulhu is glad to see Dayu returning as he confirms to her that Xandred sank into the bottom of the Xandred River and that he shall return once he is finally rehydrated. He is almost restored to his full potential. Until then, Cthulhu summons the Nihilok Fira to kill off the 18th head of the Shiba house, giving her the True Fire Asamida bullets to fight Samurai Red's Fire CGI power. The bullets will activate the CGI within the victim and burn them from the inside out with the CGI power. When she attacks the group of Azazos to bring the Samurai Rangers into the open, Samurai Red is protected by the others against her wishes, but these bullets didn't harm her teammates because they didn't wield any CGI flames within them. Having had enough of her vassals shielding her, Samurai Red uses the black box to finish the fight, barely surviving as she slays the Nihilok with the bazooka. Cthulhu is perplexed at how Lauren is able to endure the true fire of Samadhi. Samurai Red gives Samurai Blue the black box to battle the revived mega-sized Fira. The Samurai Rangers formed the Homaris Samurai Folding Zord to fight off Fira, but the Nihilok was able to disrupt the combination, exhausting all the Rangers, breaking everything apart. Without warning, the Line Folding Zord suddenly attacks the Nihilok on its own, as the others realize that Lauren is not the one piloting it. After the Nihilok was destroyed, the vessels helped Lauren before seeing another armored ranger, whose retainer, Toshizo Danba, appears as well. That armored ranger ends the transformation and is introduced by Tanba as a true 18th head of the Shiba house, Crimson Shogun Ranger, Jaden Shiba. Finding Lauren wounded from her fight with Fira, Antonio and the vessels arrive, demanding answers relating to Lauren from G. With G not answering, Mia concludes her suspicion on Lauren's behavior were true. Lauren is the decoy. Jaden enters and assumes his position as the true head of the Shiba house. His retainer, Tamba, explains the full story behind Jaden being the rightful lord and the 18th head while Jaden was bestowed with items belonging to the Samurai Red. Jaden says he do not wish to hide anymore. As the vessels proclaim they refuse to serve anyone but Lauren, Lauren arrives and apologizes to them for all the suffering she has caused. She claims the true fire of Samida destroyed all her flame CGI power rather than killing her. She is nothing more than a mere civilian. Mike says, once a ranger, always a ranger. But Lauren tearfully ignores him. She tells them to follow Jaden before she takes her leave. Tamba gleefully says he thought Lauren would have fought her way to stay in power and was more than happy that Lauren is so compliant. Tanba chuckles on how rare it is to see trash taking themselves out. The other rangers were disgusted by this, so is Jaden. But Tanba quickly says Lauren is now freed from the responsibility that she had been thrusted upon when she was a child. Now she is no longer affiliated with the Shiba clan. They should all cut ties with her and pretend that she has never existed. Mia realized how Lauren must have felt, so very alone and can't tell anyone who she truly is. When you rewatch Samurai knowing this twist, you'll realize Lauren is basically an underdog. Just like Leo from Lost Galaxy, or Casey from Jungle Fury, fighting to prove herself as a valid Red Ranger, while she's pretending to be Carter Grayson from Lightspeed Rescue or Andros from In Space. The potential of her bloodline will never match the potential of the Shiba descendants nor the retainers. This explains why the other Rangers don't need to train as hard as Lauren. Lauren didn't train because she's a perfectionist, she's training because all that barely meets the minimum. Mike's short training period proves how weak Lauren truly is. The Vessels realize her aloof attitude is mostly to hide herself. Mike asks why weren't they told. Tanba says Nylox cannot read minds but can feel emotions, as seen in the Nylok using insults as an attack. If the other retainers knew, Xandred would have figured it out much earlier. Also, the Shiba clan has used the decoy before and the other retainers knew about this. The other samurai retainers despised him and never treated him like a true lord. This was felt by the Nylox and they were seen through quickly. Mike claims he never fought for Lauren because of the Shiba Lord title. He only fought for her since he chose to follow her as the leader. Mia suddenly has a flashback of Deker. The reason why he turned obsessed into fighting was to numb himself from how he was looked down upon by other retainers. She asks, shouldn't the true Shiba Lord be returning after this generation's duty has been finished? Tanba announces that Jaden has returned because he has finished completing the sealing symbol. Mike then demands Lauren to fight alongside them, but Tanba also said that happened before and that same decoy became resentful towards the clan and became a Nylok. Mia chimes in and says Deker was that decoy. Tanba says, exactly. And when he was expelled from the Shiba house, he stole the ancient samurai armor from the Rangers. With Tanba comparing Deker to Lauren, Antonio finally unloads his frustration and says he has no reason to stay as he is recruited into Lauren's samurai. Tanba replies, he was about to say the same thing and expels him. While the other Rangers catches up to G, begging him to make Lauren stay, G says it won't happen. Lauren was one of the caretaker's children living in the Shiba mansion. When she was young, Antonio and her saw an upcoming Nylok attack, as they saw Azazoth and Cthulhu entering the backyard, disabling the Shiba house securities. The two children tried to warn Tanba about the Nylok sneak attack. Antonio has a really bad reputation already, thus Tanba ignored the warnings and told the two to go and make up play stories some other time. That decision caused the previous lord to perish, and the retainer suffered because of Tanba. G says Lauren's presence reminds Tanba's guilt over the 17th Shiba head's death. The next day, Jaden morphs into Shogun Crimson Ranger and leads the others against the Nylok. The four are barely able to cope without Lauren. Shogun Crimson introduces his arsenal, which shows that he could clearly fend off Nyloks without the others' help. He is a one-man army. Just imagine Jason Lee Scott and Tommy Oliver's MMPR days. The more mature audiences could feel the sadness and unease between the other Rangers. It shows the true awkwardness in replacing team member, unlike MMPR when they replaced the team with Adam, Rocky, and Aisha. However, the younger audiences are going to love the Shogun Ranger. Why? Overpowered and new toys.
Monday, February 7th, the Power Rangers arrive.
Rangers together!
Meet the Red Ranger. He's their fearless leader, who always cuts the bad guys down to size.
Gotta admit, that dude has style. I must not fail. I am the Red Ranger.
See the Red Ranger in action in Power Rangers Samurai. The brand new series premieres Monday, February 7th at 8, only on Net.
Now's our chance!
He has an awesome armor mode, could merge the bazooka with a sword to create a Shogun Spear, making Mike feel inferior with his Force Spear. Jaden's bazooka spear CGI blasts make Kevin feel weak as he takes out the mega-sized Azazoths at ease, while Kevin could only take out the Azazoths with his Hydro Bow. When Jaden spins his Shogun Spear, it creates a whirlwind that is way stronger than Mia, making her feel unneeded. Jaden's Shogun Spear could cause earthquakes, much to Emily's surprise, and worsens her self-worth and insecurities all over again. All the team feels very demoralized with Shogun Ranger easily overshadowing them combined, and with flashbacks, this is our seasonal clip show, showing how Crimson Shogun Ranger is much stronger than Samurai Red, as he is the true successor of the Shiba clan. Even though Jaden and Lauren's personalities are similar, the team has bonded with Lauren first. The strength of the team has a quantum leap, but it feels like it is husk without a soul. Younger viewers could see this as, wow, Jaden is so much cooler, while mature viewers would see this as, the team isn't really there without Lauren. On the other side of Oroma City Port, Antonio finds Lauren, who tells him that she has nothing left in her life before she walks away. Antonio hopes to cheer her up by showing possible clues to the Mosasaurus disc. As Antonio calls G about Lauren's new attitude, Lauren makes her way to her parents' grave where Deker finds her. As he has never cared about who Lauren was in the past, Deker demands her to fight. Lauren accepts without hesitation, since the only thing that's true is the duel between swordsmanship. Meanwhile, Jaden trains with the team with different CGI stroke attacks, where the group combines parts of a character to create powerful combination. He has been shown to be kind and caring to these rangers, although he's quite aloof at first, but the rangers are starting to reciprocate. The rangers also have heard Jaden never wanting to kick Lauren out of the Shiba clan, but Tamba asks if he dares to oppose his dead father's will. This made the other rangers understanding of his position, especially Kevin. As Lauren fights Deker, now that she has no more purpose in life as a stand-in for Jaden, Antonio finds G, so they attempt to find Lauren, while G tells Antonio to fight the current Nylok threat. As Lauren no longer has the fire CGI power, Deker gave her a new mode, Dark Ronin Red, to have a fantastical duel. Though the vessels offer to help, G apologizes for deceiving them and explains to an annoyed Tamba that he will see Lauren as his lord. Tamba was outraged by this, calls him a traitor, and expels G. As G leaves the command house, he finds Lauren as Dark Ronin Red fighting Deker and attempts to intervene. On the Rokumon junk, Cthulhu risks his own life to empower Gigertox in order to increase the human suffering to speed up Xandred's reawakening. Cthulhu is risking his own life because seeing how powerful the Crimson Shogun is, he's very scared. He has never seen such a powerful Samurai Ranger before. Alerted to his presence, the Samurai Rangers arrive as Ninja Gold is overpowered by Gigertox. After they manage to slay the monster with Super Bazooka, as Antonio looks in frustration, Antonio asks how could Mike follow this new leader in replacing Lauren. Mike responds it would be way easier not to follow this new lord if he was a hateful person. The Samurai Rangers use a Samurai Megazord to destroy the powered-up Gigertox. However, the Nylok is revived into a more powerful form and a Samurai Megazord is formed to battle it. Elsewhere, the two duelists has been separated as they fall off a waterfall. G finds and explains to Lauren that while he raised her to be a decoy, he refuses to break his word to Lauren's mother that he would look after her daughter. By then, Deker arrives as Lauren resumes the fight against G's pleas. Deker has enjoyed the battle, but knows Lauren is still not throwing away her humanity. Then he realizes what is the ticking point to push Lauren into becoming a Nylok. Deker kills G in front of Lauren, her only connection to her true self. G whispers something to Lauren as he dies, which breaks Lauren, and she focuses all her strength in defeating Deker. After the Samurai Rangers finally manage to destroy the Gigertox, the vessels learn from Antonio about Lauren's duel against Deker. As the others run off, with an emotionally conflicted Kevin remaining behind, Samurai Red and Deker's duel reaches its climax. Antonio was badly wounded from Gigertox's attack earlier. Mike and Emily call some caretakers to sneak him back into the Shiba house to nurse him back to health. As Antonio is being taken care of, he overheard Jaden trying to defend Lauren as Tamba berates her. Jaden felt remorseful for returning because it felt like he destroyed a family. He wants Lauren to come back, but Tamba told him it is the traditional way and it's wrong of his fellow Rangers to feel that way, which Jaden says the world doesn't revolve around the Crimson Ranger. Tamba says how can Jaden face the 17 spirits of the Shiba heads when Jaden dies? What Jaden is suggesting is against filial piety, disrespecting his ancestors, and defying societal expectations. Jaden can handle Nilox on his own and technically didn't even need his own team. Jaden always wants to save people. That's why it's normal for the Rangers to revolve around Jaden, says Tamba. Jaden is a true hero, but Jaden says it felt very cowardly to hide. It also felt like the Shogun Ranger has weakened the team morale by replacing Lauren, and he feels awful about it. The team dynamic was quite off, and Rangers kept on being injured left and right. It's always him finishing off the villains. It's almost like those annoying Red-centric seasons where the Red Ranger is the only character while everyone else is just a background billboard. Seeing how much Jaden cares for this team, Antonio has a change of heart. The epic duel between Dark Ronin Red and Deker reaches its climax. Dayu senses the conflict, as well as the premonition that Xandred may be awakening soon. The vessels leave to find Lauren, but Kevin stays behind, plagued with self-doubt. Behind him, two caretakers, Eugene, who helped him retrieve the Sevius folding sword, reveals himself to Kevin. And another caretaker removes his hood and shows that he is Mr. Bulk. Mr. Bulk was actually a caretaker looking after the Rangers since they've arrived. The two remind Kevin that only he could truly decide his own fate, reminding that he has chosen who to serve, not his parents. Many caretakers also motivated Kevin to find Lauren. Kevin thanks everyone, Bulk and Eugene corrects him. Strangers calls him Eugene. Friends calls him Skull. By nightfall, a badly injured Ronin Red manages to deliver what seems to be a mortal blow towards Deker. But the Nihilok revives, stating his ideology to Lauren. Her identity is to duel with him. That's all that matters. She began becoming more and more Nihilok overnight, even having certain transformations, shifting here and there. Then when the fellow Rangers arrived, they snapped her awake and helped her hold on to her humanity. She is still a family. Even if that title was fake, the emotions were real. The other Samurai Rangers except Kevin arrive and tell Lauren that she has much more to live for than she thinks. Then G's voice and image still lives in her head. He still acts as her conscience, speaking to her, cheering her on to push away her Nihilok side. Lauren stops her Nihilok rage. She'd much rather die as a human than becoming a Nihilok. Deker beckons her to discard her humanity again. Lauren refuses and said, "I pity you. You must feel lonely, right?" Deker, enraged, he growled that he doesn't need friends or love or anyone. He has achieved to become the ultimate swordsman from his own hardship. Of all people, Lauren should be able to understand this the most. And to Deker, Lauren has been defeated due to unwillingly able to stand alone. Her friends made her weaker. Lauren smiles and says no, it has made her stronger. At least, she can die knowing she is cared by her friends. And she cares for them too. Before Deker could deliver the killing blow, he is shocked to discover that Uramasa has pinned his foot to the ground and will not budge. Kevin arrives and helps his teammate take Lauren to safety as Deker slowly perishes, lamenting the fact that he has been denied his only pleasure. Deker sees a vision of Dayu in human form, her soul telling him even to his last breath she has always been there for him. Surely, he should know that his strength unknowingly came from his secret admirer, Dayu. Uramasa remains planted upright in the ground as Deker's body slowly dissipates, as he finally acknowledges Dayu's care might have helped him with strength, and he threw her kindness and care away just for his lust for violence. This went against his self-made swordsmanship, which disgusts Deker, and thus he perishes and disappears, while Lauren passes out from exhaustion. Before she passes out, a ghostly figure appears before Lauren. He says, "You will find my missing Mosasaurus disc." Her head was then flooded with different visions of where the disc is. Back on board the Rokumon junk, after learning of Deker's death, Dayu realizes that her repaired shamisen may complete Xandred's reawakening, and it barely holds onto what little was left of Deker. She decides to hide in the human world. Cthulhu speculates Dayu's decaying Nihilok body could be of use to Xandred since she's still partially human. He wrote a CGI symbol power that allows Xandred to gain a special ability if he can absorb the human essence of Dayu. Cthulhu tells Xandred they have to hurry because Dayu's body is not going to last long when Deker died. Her soul will be released from the Uramasa. As Xandred is in search of the dying Dayu for the secret power upgrade, Xandred sends a new Nihilok commander to take his place for now. The next day, Lauren picks up the Uramasa and passes it to the Rangers. Lauren tells her former vessels to leave her and pass the sword to Jaden. Mike kneels before her, and Kevin reminds Lauren that he and the others had sworn their loyalty to her, not the Shogun Ranger. Kevin also personally willingly submitted to Lauren because Lauren defeated him mercifully when he was controlled by the Nilox. Any other lord would have discarded him and had him be destroyed. Mia then reminded Lauren that despite her not being the 18th head of the Shiba clan, everything Lauren built up as herself properly exists. Lauren, looking back at her memories with her friends, explained that she feels the same, then starts to shed a tear. Lauren then suddenly sees the ghostly figure again, which she can clearly see was a Shiba samurai lord, ancestor of Jaden. The spirit tells her to remind his heir to use the symbol hidden in the upcoming new commander, as he has prophesied his return. The visions of what she saw flooded her mind again, this time much stronger and more clear. But before the Rangers try to recruit Lauren back into the team, she tells them she's tasked to find the Mosasaurus disc with Antonio. Rangers argued about its existence, but Lauren stated that it is real, and since the ghost of the first Shiba Lord has appeared in the vision before her. Also, she wants to finish G's final wish. Earlier on, in his dying breath, G sent Lauren to find the Mosasaurus disc, hoping this will aid her in not giving up on her humanity. Suddenly, they receive a call that a group of Mega Zazoth have appeared, and Jaden, with Antonio by his side, has already engaged them in the Megazords. While the other vessels fight the Azazoth company, and while an untransformed Lauren helps the Shiba caretakers bring civilians to safety, when the Mega Monsters were destroyed, they returned back to the mansion. The rest of the team regrouped with Jaden and gave him the Uramasa. Jaden recognizes the sword and was able to retract the CGI power of armor from it, but it is still not ready yet. Together, they face down the new Nala commander. He is as strong as Xandred. He was sealed by the ancient Shiba Lords centuries ago, but he has recovered after resting for centuries in the bottom of the lake. The two sides were at stalemate and retreated. When Tamba saw Antonio, Jaden says Antonio is a worthy ninja warrior and should help the Shiba clan, which quite Tamba up as it is not against Shiba traditions to have external help. Antonio asks for permission to go hunt for the Mosasaurus disc along with Lauren. Jaden approves. Later, Antonio meets Lauren, and Lauren tells him about the ghostly visions she has received, and Antonio used those clues and cross-referenced with his research. Antonio and Lauren were able to narrow down to the location of the disc, but it is deep behind enemy territories. After sneaking into that territory, Lauren found the Mosasaurus disc with Antonio's ninja skills. However, when the two tries to activate the Mosasaurus disc, nothing happened except the same ghostly vision of the first Shiba Lord appeared. When the battle between the Samurai Rangers and giant armies of Nilox are occurring again, the team barely made it out with swarming of Azazoths, which badly injured most of them. Fortunately, the two were able to pass it to Jaden. Due to Jaden's injury, he cannot use his Shogun mode until much later. Lauren says she saw the ghost of his ancestor, and she tells him to use the symbol hidden inside the new upcoming Nala commander. Jaden activates the disc, and the disc displays the same message of the ghost of the Shiba Lord, telling his descendants will be able to use it once he finds a special character within that Nalok. Later in battle, Jaden morphs into Samurai Red and leads the team to fight the new commander, and the Samurai Ranger wins thanks to unlocking the powers of the disc. When the CGI and the Mosasaurus disc met, Samurai Red transforms into Mosasaurus mode. After this battle, Jaden sees Lauren as a worthy ranger of the Shiba clan and gave her a position as a samurai scout. He will send her on missions where it is seen as off-worldly. Also, Lauren gives Antonio credit for helping her. Therefore, Jaden accepts Antonio as his ninja samurai retainer, which Antonio gladly accepts, despite Tamba's protests. The Ronin powers within Lauren has dissipated. Lauren is now sent away, tasked to retrain her CGI flame power with Deker's Uramasa. While Cthulhu worries about the recent events in the Sanji River, he's worried that there might be a power vacuum since the commander has been defeated and Xandred is still recovering. The next day in the mortal world, the Shiba clan holds a funeral for G. A year after defeating the Vengix virus in the RPM universe, the Ranger Operator series tracked the remnant of the virus in the body of Professor Cog, with Dr. K watching. However, after defeating the RPM Megazord, Professor Cog opens up a dimensional rift that sucks the RPM Rangers and RPM Zords to different universes and in different time periods. Vengix tries to recruit Dr. K, but she escapes and ends up falling into the dimensional rift as well. Soon after, while finding themselves fighting grinders, Samurai Rangers encounters RPM Red as he takes out the grinders on his own, much to the Samurai Rangers' surprise. Soon after, the Samurai Rangers bring Scott Truman and Dr. K to Jaden, but Jaden and Scott Truman are unable to work together due to their conflicting personalities. Scott is hot-headed and competitive, which Jaden sees as something incompatible between the two teams. Since this case is an off-world assignment, Jaden assigned this matter to Lauren, and he refuses to be in any part of this. Dr. K gave the Rangers an update on the events after RPM's season finale. A weaker version of the Vengix virus somehow managed to enter a lab and use their equipment to rebuild a primitive version of its body, which is the same build as Black Beetle board. Yes, the same version back in Forever Red. The Vengix virus is a remnant code of the Machine Empire from Zeo. Dr. K tries to trace the virus's source, but nothing was found, unless it somehow infected the RPM morpher and Trojan horsed its way into the rest of her equipment. Fortunately, the morpher's storage space is much smaller than the entire Vengix virus that the RPM has faced off against. The size comparison of the RPM morpher to the Vengix virus will be a glass of water to an Olympic-sized swimming pool. General Vengix also built a robot called Professor Cog to challenge the Rangers' Megazord, and right now, its code is still developing and it's growing stronger by the minute. Lauren sees Scott being too impulsive and way too flashy. She believes that Scott should follow the Shiba way of planning or leave. Annoyed by her arrogance, Scott drags Dr. K out, but Dr. K later wanders off. Meanwhile, the caretaker gives Antonio a time capsule from Angel Grove which contains a letter not to be opened until 3,000 years into the future. Antonio just pockets it without thinking much about it. Entering the Samurai Rangers universe, General Vengix then seeks out to kidnap Dr. K. She was eating at Antonio's gold sushi cart, and she wants nothing to do with this plan. Enraged, foot soldiers were sent to capture her, but she was protected by Antonio, who morphs into Ninja Gold, saying, "His customers will not be disturbed by any hooligans, even if they're robots." Not up to his full strength, General Vengix chooses the closest parallel world to enter into, and ended up in the Xandred River. While he was there, in the Xandred River, General Vengix arrives to make the Nilox an offer to hand him their waters to bring the mortal realm in order to power his Vengix plant, and in return, he would flood the world with waters of the Xandred River. While Antonio is fighting the Grinders before RPM Red and the other Samurai Rangers, Lauren and Jaden arrives to support Ninja Gold. Professor Cog and General Vengix also enters the fight along with the Nilot monster and his company of Azazoths. Professor Cog then uses his dimensional drift attack again. The vessels, the Nilok monster of the day, some Azazoths, and some Grinders got sucked into the dimensional rift. Before being sucked in, the Rangers saved Lauren, Jaden, and Scott from Professor Cog's attack. The group was separated in that attack, and Jaden takes Dr. K to have sanctuary in his Shiba house to get her patched up. Scott and Lauren ended up in the lake, where Scott saved Lauren from drowning. Being sent 3,000 years to the future, Ninja Gold meets RPM Yellow and RPM Green, who is working with Jen from Time Force, and a mutant camp refugee. There we learn Time Force is trying to help and be inclusive of mutant kind. Earlier, Jen and the two RPM Rangers were working on calculating their time traveling and aid them to return back to their era. They are waiting for the computer to finish the calculations, but they got into bad timing since the Azazoths and Grinders were also caught in that time portal attack. They were taking over the time machine station. Jen and the RPM Rangers fought against the foot soldiers to stop them, while Antonio uses his digital CGI to encode time traveling capabilities into the RPM engine cells. Meanwhile, Samurai Green and Yellow were sent back to Angel Grove during colonial times. They met RPM Black and Blue, who were with the town sheriff, Tom, the clone of Tommy Oliver of MMPR who remained in the past. Tom Oliver places a letter drafted by Samurai Yellow in a time capsule, but they were attacked by General Vengix and some foot soldiers. Mike was badly injured trying to defend his allies. Tom Oliver tries to help him out. However, Tom's morph cannot be sustained because his morpher has not been recharging properly since his last battle, and he keeps demorphing, like Adam in Power Rangers in space. Retreating the battle, Tom passes his dragon coin to Mike, saying the coin has special healing attributes. While Mike was resting, the Rangers were all defeated and captured by the enemy. Fortunately, Mike was healed by the coin, and he enters the fight and fought for his allies. And with the kanji symbol he saw in his vision while he was being healed by Tom's power coin, he wrote it and transforms into Samurai Green Dragon mode. Mike frees his friends and faces against General Vengix and Azazoths. The other Rangers were amazed by the spirit of Mike as he single-handedly takes out all the monsters. Samurai Green crushed the General Vengix single-handedly, a tribute to Tommy, Jason, and Zach when they used the Dragon Shield during the glorious days of MMPR. Meanwhile, some of the Rangers ended up in Ninja Storm Ninja Temple. Samurai Blue, Samurai Pink, and RPM Gold and Silver met the visiting teacher, Ninjor, and the principal, Ninja Storm Green Samurai Ranger, Cam Watanabe. They fought against the incoming foot soldiers who were from the Samurai dimension. The Rangers learned how RPM technology works along with CGI and ninja powers, making devastating attacks. Kevin and Mia wonders how the other Rangers could rescue them, but Jem and Jima tell them not to worry and activated a transmitter homing beacon so the other RPM Rangers could know where they are. Ninjor and Cam use their powers to amplify the signal. Samurai Pink and Blue decide to help along and make the signal even stronger through their CGI power. Back in the Time Force space 3,000 years in the future, once the Time Machine station was cleared of Azazoth and Nilox, the RPM Rangers also found out RPM Gold and Silver's homing beacon transmission backed by ninja and samurai powers, and it told them where they could pick up the Rangers from the Ninja Temple. Antonio and Jin got to work. When Antonio asked Jin about the year in the future they are in to complete the calculation's final steps, Jin's answer reminded him about the time capsule he has received from the caretaker earlier. It is actually the same letter written by Emily and was stored by Tom Oliver in it during the colonial times of Angel Grove. The letter told them the time and coordinates to pick up the Rangers from the past. Back in the current timeline, as Lauren and Scott Truman managed to resolve their differences, which Jaden wouldn't even thought of compromising, the two learned that Jaden and Dr. K have been captured and kidnapped. They're being held at Lantau Peak. This actually shows how a highly trained veteran like Jaden would be so strong against fighting demons, but is so weak against fighting robots. It's a trap with an entire army of Azazoth and Grinders waiting for him. Turns out, Jaden's Shiba Mansion CGI security is effective against Nilox, but not towards evil machines. Professor Cock boasted that he took the legendary samurai armor and was able to merge himself with it. With the power of the Sanju River waters, he will have enough power to take over both worlds. However, when Lauren disregards the safety of the hostages for the sake of the world, RPM Red is forced to fight Samurai Red. As Professor Cock watches that his enemies are fighting each other, he soon discovers that the fight is only a diversion to allow Lion Folding Zord to help Jaden and Dr. K escape, as the RPM Zords arrive with the other RPM Rangers and Samurai Rangers within them. Together, the two Ranger teams defeat the Grunts while Samurai Red and RPM Red take to the road to battle the Nilox General. Giving RPM Red the Mosasaurus disc so he could become RPM Red Mosasaurus mode, as Samurai Red becomes Daimyo Red, the two are later joined by the others and they slay the Nilox. Enlarging with his revived aid, Professor Cog escapes to the moon where the Vengix plant is, using the Nilox as a shield to escape the Engine Folding Zord team attack as they form Samurai Megazord and RPM Megazord while he hooks himself up to the Vengix plant to achieve his full strength. The two teams are powerless until they found out that Jaden's samurai armor possesses the power to combine swords of the different teams together. The RPM and Samurai team reconfigure themselves into Samurai Formation Megazord to destroy Professor Cog. Soon after, the RPM Rangers head off back to the RPM world to rebuild their society, wishing the Samurai Rangers luck in keeping their world safe. Jaden also dispatches Lauren to help the RPMs just in case if there are any Nilox who has escaped into their realm. And also, Lauren's CGI power should be able to support the RPM Rangers for now. The Samurai Rangers were very content, especially Mike, thinking fighting Nilox would be an ease when Samurai armor is to its completion, so they'll all be armored Samurai Rangers. However, it will take time for the Samurai armor to be fully rendered. Antonio also took notice there was another note from the time capsule from Tom Oliver to Mike, who gave Mike his blessings as the newest heir to the Green Dragon Shield powers. Antonio passes this letter to Mike. In the next episode, Kevin and Mike figure out that they could use Jaden's temporary ancient samurai armor CGI to create multiple daimyo modes with Mike's CGI potential power. Mike finally understands the true power of the tree symbol power, propagation. He can make all samurai rangers use daimyo mode at the same time. While Mia was out for jog, she finds Dayu and morphs into Daimyo Pink. She calls for the other rangers and engages Dayu. After Daimyo Pink apparently strikes her down, Dayu reveals that her shamisen had taken the killing blow and had been destroyed. Dayu tells Daimyo Pink she has lost the will to live and is fine to be ended this quickly, since she is going to disappear soon. However, the remnant of Deker's dying anguished soul, now finally freed from its confinement within Dayu's damaged shamisen, and with centuries of pain, unleashed the Sanju River waters to the human realm. Without warning, Xandred appears and reabsorbs her into his body before she perishes. Xandred demands to face the Shogun Ranger as the other Rangers arrive. Jaden quickly takes the high ground and stays away from Xandred. As he readies for the sealing powers, the other Rangers manage to all transform into Daimyo mode to hold off Xandred as the Master calls upon his Nilox foot soldiers. With the Daimyo mode, they easily take out the Azazoths like they're nothing and keep Xandred from Jaden. Emily was the first one to be taken out by Xandred. Even her with the Daimyo mode spin attack was no match against his howling technique. A huge turbulence was caused when Xandred uses his Nether Wind attack against Mia's CGI wind attack. Xandred's hurricane of Netherworld wind and fire overpowered Mia. Xandred launches fireballs at Kevin, and he retaliates using his water CGI against the flames of the Netherworld. In the steam created by the attack, Xandred jumps out of nowhere and sucker punched an unsuspecting Kevin, knocking him unconscious. Antonio arrives to face off against Xandred with his super speed, but Xandred easily retaliates and crushes Antonio's leg. Out of nowhere, Mike jumps in using Daimyo mode with a spear attack. Xandred was surprised, but quickly fights back. He snaps the Force Sphere and blasts Mike with his howling technique. Mike dodges and Antonio throws the Mosasaurus disc at him. Mike transforms into Mosasaurus mode and uses long-range attack against Xandred. Xandred fired fireballs at Mike, who uses the Mosasaurus katana like a whip to keep the fireballs away from him. But Xandred then rushes to him and grabs Mike, slamming him to the ground. Thinking Mike has been finished, Mike uses the dragon coin before he slammed him and transforms into the Soul of the Dragon mode, which protected him from Xandred's devastating attack. Mike uses the Dragon Dagger and Mosasaurus Katana to attack Xandred simultaneously, and it pierced Xandred's chest patch, which he had absorbed Dayu in. Xandred then backs off a bit and falls onto his knees. Before Mike could deliver a devastating blow, Xandred surprises him and blasted Mike with unrelenting amount of Netherwind, powerful purple wind blast which demorphed Mike. Just as the vassals are defeated, Jaden successfully unleashes the Sealing Symbol power onto Xandred. But the Sealing character fails, as Xandred reveals that he has absorbed Dayu's human aspect to protect himself. Xandred leapt at the Shogun Crimson, and the two were evenly matched. After being able to counter everything Xandred threw at him, Shogun Ranger easily overpowers Xandred. Sensing Jaden's guilt in letting his vassals take all of the Master's devastating blows, Xandred calls the Shogun Ranger a coward, using his rangers as human shields as he hid himself away from the front line, as he is locked safely away from the battleground throughout the entire time. Isn't he shameful? This made the Crimson Shogun lose composure. Rather than attacking elegantly like before, he was attacking without any grace, just pure unadulterated anger with unplanned strikes, losing formation. Xandred takes advantage of this and sucker punches the Shogun Ranger. Once the Shogun Ranger was on the ground, he was knocked back into Samurai Red mode. Xandred then sent Fire Blast unrelentlessly with his Netherworld flames, nearly destroying the Shogun Ranger. But Lauren arrives just in time from the RPM world to cover their escape. Later that night, Jaden requests a private audience with Lauren. Lauren claims she has taught the RPM Ranger to deal with the Nilox through the use of CGI powers and was returning to see if she could help. Admiring her for such loyal friends, and seeing that the plan he was brought up on has failed, Jaden decides it is time to make it official to everyone, adopting Lauren as his daughter and successor, passing the head of the Shiba House to Lauren, and also granting her the title Princess Samurai Red. This makes Lauren the 19th head of the Shiba House, and once more, the leader of the Samurai Rangers, much to Tamba's dismay. Jaden took out the Mosasaurus disc and told him she found it with the Ninja Samurai. The ghosts of the Shiba ancestors also bestowed the secret in defeating that new Nila commander. This proves that his ancestors have seen Lauren as worthy of carrying on the title of the Shiba Lord. With Tamba's elderly age, how would Tamba ever face the ghosts of the previous 17 Shiba Lords when his time has come? That immediately silenced Tamba's protests. Then finally, Tamba asks, how can Lauren fight? She has lost all her CGI power from the Samadhi True Flames, and the Ronin powers has been exhausted after the events of the crossover with RPM. Lauren tells him that Dr. K has incorporated RPM technologies that took the Yuramasu of Deker's remnant CGI power and used it to restore Lauren's. Meanwhile, Xandred pays his final respects to Dayu. He begins his attack on the mortal realm as the Sanju River overflows into the living world. With Lauren announcing a strategy of all-out battle, they can use the power of the legendary samurai armor sparingly to save their strength while charging head-on against Xandred and his forces. Mike suggested they will attack Xandred's weak spot that he has created to be immune to the Sealing Symbol power, as Mike has discovered that weak spot while dueling against Xandred. The Samurai Rangers march towards their final confrontation with renewed confidence. In this two-parter finale, Lauren explains with the help of Dr. K, the armor symbol CGI is ready for use, but it will require to use the Daimyo powers and the Dragon Coin as well. This grants the Rangers to become armored Samurai Rangers. As the Samurai Rangers battles thousands of Azazoths and Nilox at ease, and then they face off against Xandred. While Ninja Gold and the Vassals hold off the Nilox forces, Lauren attempts to use the Shiba House disc on Xandred. But Xandred resists, and the powers only graze the weak spot. Xandred blasted from all sides, which destroyed the Azazoths and knocked the Rangers out of their morph. Xandred decides to break the Samurai Rangers' fighting spirit and becomes enraged that they refuse to show weakness to him. He then leaves the battle and kills Jaden directly. As Xandred leaves, Tamba arrives to hold off the Azazoth, allowing the Samurai Rangers to recover and defeat them. Tamba also gives them another Shiba House disc, which Jaden risks his well-being to create. Tamba, showing his acceptance to Lauren being the next Shiba Lord, gave her his own double disc. Leaving Gamma with Tamba, the Samurai Rangers chase after Xandred. The 5 Rangers transforms into Daimyo Rangers as Lauren transforms into Mosasaurus mode. The Daimyo overwhelm the incoming Azazoths and Samurai Red whips the Azazoths guarding Xandred. She then uses the double disc to summon 2 Fire Smashers. The Samurai Rangers manage to overpower Xandred with a CGI power bind, a move taught by Jaden. While Lauren and Xandred were locked in place, out of nowhere, Kevin enters using the Shiba House disc to deliver the death blow. Assuming his second life, an enlarged Xandred overpowers the Samurai Rangers in Samurai Megazord, even they were using the ancient Samurai armor. Under Lauren's guidance, Samurai Megazord charges Xandred head-on as he breaks off the Folding Sword combination until only Samurai Megazord remains. Lauren then takes the opportunity to remind her vessels that no matter what happens, she is glad to have fought alongside them, a sentiment that this vessel's return. Mike thinks of an idea which would work but sacrifice the control over all their Zords. Antonio says if they sacrifice the powers of bonds between the discs and Zords, this could create enough powers of the CGI to destroy Xandred. The Samurai Rangers demorphs and redirected all their CGI powers in one grand finale strike, successfully destroying Xandred for good. With Xandred's demise, the Xandred River withdraws from the mortal realm as Cthulhu goes down with the Nilok boat. The Samurai Rangers' Zords then disappear back into the wild, except the main 5 Folding Zords. With that bittersweet ending, Kevin says it will take another generation to retrieve these Zords again. By the end of this series, Lauren finally found a place she belongs to, having a family. She no longer needs to be aloof towards the other Samurai Rangers. She can be something more than just a lie. Jaden takes his leave with Tamba and leaves with Lauren with the task of continuing the Shiba House's fight against the Nilox. Tamba proposes Jaden to choose his bride to fulfill his family duties, which Jaden tells him it's way too soon. Mia was able to let go of her Prince Charming from her home and move forward. She became the elder sister of the group to take care of everyone, which in return helped all the Samurai Rangers grow. She'll move on away from cooking vegan foods and focus on her passion, being a teacher. Kevin was able to uphold his family's legacy. He was able to guide his fellow Rangers to victory, mentoring and nurturing them. Also, Kevin can finally return back to his Shakespearean acting days. Mike originally wants to be a relaxed superhero who only wants to fight for himself. He learned how to be altruistic. Like Kevin, he learned justice to become the strength of someone, the kindness lend a hand to someone, the courage to protect someone, the strength to fight for someone. It was revealed that he admires Kevin at the end, and rather than just being better than Lauren, he wants to be the best version of himself. Mike also passes the Dragon Zord coin to Lauren when he returns his calligraphone. Through everyone's support, Emily no longer sees herself as just a replacement, but embraces the role of being a true samurai, and that in return would make her sister proud. Antonio wants to be more than a craftsman. He learned how to be a samurai through studying and hard work. He wants to be there for his best friend Lauren, so nobody would suffer the same tragedy as the two had. He was unable to be there for her after his family left. The vessels kneel before Lauren, but Lauren tells that her friends do not need to bow down to anyone. The team celebrated their victory together, and the vessels return back to their normal lives. Lauren bids farewell to her friends. Antonio heads back to the Thunder Ninja Academy to complete his shinobi training. Emily returns home to take care of her sister. Mike leaves for college. Mia finally accepts her parents to go live with them in Hawaii. And Kevin resumes his Shakespearean drama career. Until the Nilok resurface, Lauren will remain on watch for them while Lauren finds a symbol power left by Mike. Turns out, Mike's plant CGI power has brought an echo projection of G. Although it is not permanent, it's long enough for G to say goodbye. This was a skill he has learned from Lauren when she sent a symbol power to the boy who was reminiscing about his grandfather. The last moments of G shows his will for Lauren. He took her to his office and showed Lauren files filled with list of activities to give to his lord for a hobby outside of being a samurai after the Nilok threat is over. Lauren also holds onto the dragon coin and passes it to the caretaker. She tells them to return this coin back to the modern day user. Before the season ends, two caretakers overwatch Lauren as she tries to ride G's motorbike. The two lift up their hoods, revealing that they are Bulk and Skull. They recap how the Samurai Rangers grew as they watch Lauren stumbling the motorbike. Mr. Bulk says it's good to be back to work at the Shiba House with Eugene, looking after the Samurai Rangers. There was a flashback. G told Mr. Bulk to pretend to be a civilian who wants to join the Rangers, which would motivate Kevin to be more accepting of Antonio. Mr. Bulk and Eugene were in the shadows, cheering the team on behind the scenes the entire time, since episode 1. Now in modern times, Eugene tells Mr. Bulk there's an old friend they have to visit in Angel Grove as he holds out the dragon coin Lorne has gifted him.
Thanks for watching. It has been a long journey, but I'm glad How to Fix Samurai is finally over. Thank you everyone for your patience and your support. What did you think of the series? What other seasons should I fix? Comment below and let me know your thoughts. Remember to like this video and subscribe. See you next time, Riders and Rangers.
This season, a new evil rises, and by unlocking the force of the Black Box, the Power Ranger Samurai become Super Samurai. It will take new weapons and new battle modes to save the world.
Victory is out!
Watch new episodes of Power Rangers Super Samurai. Weekends 12 noon, 11 Central, only on Nickelodeon.